This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Talk Show. Today, we're going to be talking about actual big news, Ryan.
Big news.
Yeah, no, news. Let's know. Straight
I'm
up.
excited about this one. I actually think this is... I'm interested to see what your opinion is, because I obviously have an opinion. And I'm interested to see what you think.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be what people are expecting, but we'll talk about it. It's the eBay banning the sale of live animals, but including fishing corals, basically.
Yeah.
So we will talk about that. Now, there are a couple of things in the news, but there's not a massive amount. So I'm tempted to save that for the news, and then we'll go into it in detail. But we'll just see how it goes. It depends. If you've got like 3 minutes of what's been going on, and I've got 3 minutes, then we'll dive into it. But
I'm thinking about having a 3-minute apology for allowing you to be here on your own last week. Because obviously, I listened to that live stream and there was a good half an hour at the beginning of talking about lights, and that is amazing. Is unacceptable.
Me and the guys in the chat, we had such a good time, didn't we, lads? Come on, you know.
I don't know. I was listening, going, how is he getting away with this? And I realized it's because I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I'm sure there will be a good proportion of people who are like, I don't care. But,
I'll be honest with you, even though I listened to it, I don't even know what light you were talking about. I can't remember.
The new AI, I can't remember what it's called. Edge? Okay. I can't remember. But yeah. The one thing actually, the one thing that I asked for people what their thoughts on it were. Yeah. And the thing that stood out for me more than anything was people thought it was expensive. And actually, compared to all the other ones, Kessel Radio and all that sort of stuff, it's pretty comfortable. It's not overpriced. It's not more expensive than most lights in the hobby. But I came away from that thinking, so everybody hates, well, not, this isn't like a revelation, but a lot of people don't like how everything's getting more and more expensive. And there's a few things I feel like across the board, in not just in our hobby, but in a lot of areas, people are starting to make stuff cheaper in certain areas. So the best example I've got for you, because it's what I'm obsessed with, is motorbikes. And they've been, over the last few years, there have been a few companies bringing out motorbikes. Motorbikes getting more and more expensive. Like the latest round of the best motorbikes, they're like 25 grand, and they've got crazy horsepower that you just can't use. And a couple of the companies have started bringing out much cheaper, more basic bikes recently. They're still really good. And you don't need 250 horsepower. You only need 150, and they're a lot cheaper. They're really simple, but they're much cheaper, and they'd be hugely popular. And I do wonder if equipment started becoming a lot cheaper. Like, so I don't need like a really fancy Wi-Fi app or Bluetooth control or whatever. Just have a dial so I can set it or whatever, all built in. Just simple stuff that's basic. Not as many LEDs. Don't spend so much time on making the spread perfect, all that sort of stuff. Just give me a decent spectrum and something I can ramp it up and down, and that's it. I wonder if that would be really popular, like a basic light. That I felt like people wanted that. So Bobble Magus do a lot of that sort of stuff.
A lot of the stuff as well we don't even use after after initial setup. You don't use it. I have a protein skimmer that I can't connect to. It doesn't automatically do anything. I've used it for 5 years and I've never cleaned it, and it just works. So that's what I need from a protein skimmer. I don't need it to have a Wi-Fi app or connectivity or anything like that. So you're probably right. Some people are probably making a cheaper version. Out of interest, do you know how much that light was? Only because if people were complaining, I imagine it was more expensive than they assumed it was going to be.
I can't remember that. So I actually think that one of them was a little bit on the top side, but they were the small one, which is the equivalent of a Radeon XR15, was roughly the same price as a Radeon XR15. I think it was like 10 quid cheaper. And the big one that is halfway between an XR15 and an XR30 was priced a bit closer to the price of an XR30, but cheaper. So for the amount of light you're getting, it was a little bit expensive. But it's, at the end of the day, for to light a tank like the one over my shoulder, it's like 400 quid. And that's a lot of money for a light. Like if you're getting into the hobby, you're going, oh, I'd love to keep clownfish. Right, let's have a look at the light. 400 quid, you know.
And I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And that was the one piece of equipment I bought. I ended up with, no, I didn't get T5s. I bought a max spec LED because I couldn't afford T5s. And it was a cheap LED light at first. And that was the one, that and an MP10. Those were the two pieces of equipment that were like, oh, wow, how is this so expensive?
I had a dual Rio 400, which was a tank that you would buy from any Maidenhead, I think. They were like really, really popular tanks.
Yeah.
And they came with T8 bulbs.
Yeah, okay.
And you could change the T8 bulbs into two T5 bulbs. And that's what lit my first tank. Just two T5 bulbs. But don't get me wrong, you couldn't really grow many corals in it. It was mainly just like soft corals and stuff. Yeah. But if I had looked at the hobby then and went, for a 5-foot tank, because that's what it was, I'm going to need 3 lights or even 2 lights.
£1,000 each.
Yeah.
But do you remember there was one of the tanks that was one of the options I was looking at when I first started the hobby? It was a Red Sea. I can't remember what it was called, but it was completely enclosed with a lid on it. The lid folded up at the top, and there were T5 tubes in there.
Yeah.
Do you remember the one? I'll see if I can find it.
I do. I'm pretty sure.
T5 tank. I can't remember. There was another one called the Kent Marine Nano that was like 93 litres, and it was about 200 quid. I can't remember what this one was called. If you know in the chat, if you know what I'm talking about, let me know. Parker's Reef has got one, and that's really basic. It's an all-in-one tank. It's got everything you need, but it's got lights as well, and they're just cheap lights. And I don't know how that was Red Sea, and Red Sea don't tend to do cheap stuff. So I doubt it was a bargain, but it was probably cheaper than like the high-end stuff. Because that was the other thing. My video this week was on the things I like about my tank. But that tank that's a top of the range Red Sea one. So it's not just Red Sea are expensive anyway, and Waterbox and Cade and all, they're all expensive tanks. And this is like the top of the line one. So it's another level up. And it's like £5,000 just for the tank.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who are like, I'll buy 10 of them, no problem. But most people probably want to spend a couple hundred quid on a tank, not £5,000.
Yeah, if you're dabbling, if you don't know if you're going to like it, it's a big expense to get in it. Do you want to know something that I've just remembered from you saying that?
What's that?
I once had a website, which was called I would have been probably 18 or 19, which was it was called Marine Fish Supplies or something like that.
Okay. And
I sold one of those tanks to someone on it. I have no idea how I was able to get an account. This was long time ago. But I had a website, and I don't even know what happened to it at the end. It wasn't obviously successful. I didn't know what I was doing when I was 19. But imagine if I'd kept that going. If I had actually done something with it to this point. It was easier for me to sell dry goods to people all those years ago than it is now.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Hang on, I found it. It's the Red Sea Max 130.
Yeah,
this is the one I'm thinking of.
I sold one. Yeah, I sold one to someone.
Yeah. I can't remember if I don't remember how much that was. I remember it not being mega expensive because this was when I was getting in, it was just at the time when rimless tanks were popular and the rimless ones were more expensive. But I feel like something like that would be really popular. And there are some tanks around, and I'll talk about that later in the news actually. But I think that there's a lot to be said for budget equipment. I mean, generally anyway. But what I mean is that when there's development at the moment, and like the new AI light, I actually think it looks wicked. I think it looks really, really good. I've not got my hands on it, but it looks spot on to me. If you're going to innovate, do something like that. Brilliant. But actually, I think there's probably quite a lot of demand for, instead of innovating and coming up with all sorts of clever, funky things, just make it basic and cheap and work. Give me a decent spectrum, enough power, job done. Some templates so I can turn it on and set it.
You'll sell to the masses then, rather than the select few sort of high end people who've been doing it for a long time that are willing to pay that much money for a light.
Yeah. Because there's got to be both. Because dickheads like me want £1,000 worth of light over a nano tank, for example. But so you've got to have that, because there's people who really want it. But there's also, I just think it would be great if there was more of the bigger companies go, because you can get Jecod pumps and all sorts of, you can get loads of cheap lights that are actually decent on various websites and that sort of stuff. But in terms of just from the bigger companies, if they all started to make a budget line, I think that would go down. Or if one of them started making a budget line, I think that would go down really well.
I wonder why they don't.
I don't know how easy it is, because I don't know how much, maybe there's not enough margin in it, and maybe they'd cannibalize sales of all their expensive stuff. But
yeah, true. Plus, if you're already selling the expensive stuff, do you need to sell the cheap stuff?
Well, that's it. And at the end of the day, if people are buying it, then why would you bother making something that's less profitable? But I feel like there would be a lot of demand for a budget line. So if it was the Radeon Basic or the Radeon something, so you knock 100 quid off.
Sexy, Radeon Basic.
And it could even be the Gen 4 Radeon XR15 or whatever, because they're still good lights.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And then just be like, you know what, the new ones have got better color or better spectrum or whatever, better spread bar. But if you just want a basic one, use that one.
Yeah. That's what
take
people should do.
Take out the Wi-Fi chip, take out the Bluetooth chip.
If you're new to the hobby, the best things look, some people won't like me saying this, but just dabble with some secondhand equipment first.
100%, yeah.
Dabble with some secondhand equipment, because you can get it much cheaper, and you don't, and it'll get you into the hobby. Once you're in, if it goes well for you, it's really, really addictive. It's incredibly addictive. So, and then after that, once you're fully in, then buy your dream tank. But don't start with your dream tank. That's insane.
So my rationale was, and I didn't spend big bucks. I think I had a total budget of $2,000.
Yeah.
But I think on day one, I think I spent $1,000 on the tank, the lights, a power head, and a skimmer and a return pump, that sort of stuff. From memory, and I think the tank was about 600 quid. Maybe it was more than $1,000. But my rationale was, I don't want to buy something really cheap and terrible, because if it's secondhand stuff, I don't know what to look for in a secondhand light. So I'll just go safe, and then also if I don't want to, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it properly. So then I don't just buy cheap, buy twice sort of thing. But actually, it would have been better if I was advising myself. You don't need to know what to look for buying a secondhand light. It's not like a car with the engine might go wrong or whatever. You just buy it, and it's half the price, especially with the tanks as well.
Even if a couple of the LEDs, because some of the LEDs don't work after a period, or don't work after a period of time. But even if you could have 3 LEDs not working, it still works. You don't notice it's not working.
That's rare as well. And if you were buying one that had LEDs missing, it would be dirt cheap, because all people turn their nose up at it. But you could buy a Radeon Gen 4, really good light.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they cost now. 100 quid? Because no one wants them, because they're not sexy.
The biggest issue with the Gen 4s was, I'm pretty sure this is correct, unless I'm thinking of a previous generation, you couldn't connect them directly to your phone. You had to have what was it called?
Box. Reeflink.
Reeflink. Yes, that's it. Yes, which is a problem because I'm going to be actually buying lights soon for Aqua.
Okay.
Because I did borrow a lot of stuff last time, which was great, but I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to borrow enough lights to do what I want to do. So I'm gonna end up buying them. So it's gonna be quite a large outlay this time, probably.
Yeah. Okay. I'm looking for Gen 4. Actually, quite expensive. So you can get 2 Gen 4 Radeon XR15s for 230 quid. One person is selling them for on eBay. So that's pretty cheap, 115 quid. Actually, I think that's a little bit top end. There's someone selling a Gen 3 Radeon XR15 for 135 quid. That's extremely optimistic. But anyway, sorry if that's you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's secondhand. I would absolutely buy secondhand stuff, especially the tank. There are so many people who try the hobby for 6 months, don't like it, and then sell the tank. And selling a secondhand aquarium is really hard. So you'll pay less than half price, So I'd have gone secondhand actually. But anyway, that's budget talk. We need to do week on the farm.
Week on the farm. Not week in reefing, week on the farm.
Yeah. What's going on in
the first
because
thing
you guys I gone.
Well, the first thing I was going to say is and I'm going to commit to doing this week. I need to do a video on the farm. I think when I did that 30 days, which ended up being 24 days of reefing video series, I sort of went, I'm done now, and now I'm going to take 2 months off. So I think it's pretty much was 2 months since I last put the video out, because I think it did me in. I just needed a break. So I'm now going to commit to putting a video out by next Sunday, and that video is going to be an update on the farm. So if I say that here, it means I actually do it probably.
You have to do it. Yes. I want to do a tour video of your farm. Well, not like a tour, but like how you run it kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, me, I'm easy.
Whenever you're up for that, tell me.
No, I know. It's funny because when it's yours, you're like, I don't want to make sure everything's absolutely perfect. But I know you won't care. But
it's not even that I won't care. So it will be, most of it will be the corals that I'll show. Like if there's a bit of algae in the corner, I won't record it.
It's not that one of the trays hasn't got as much coral in it as usual. Okay. Obviously, I'm gradually building up again, but the main SPS tray at the top is like probably a third full, specifically because someone came and bought all the big colonies, and I just haven't like restocked it. If you see what I mean, I've been restocking it with the LPS trays and the torches and things like that. So I just want it to be good because you're like a famous person. It makes me very nervous when you come to the house.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Plus, you're going to try and record me, and that's not good either. You know me. I get nervous. Aaron's Aquarium tried to record me once, didn't he? And I absolutely lost it.
Yeah, but he opened the door and shoved the camera in your face. Was like, Ryan, go. Be funny.
That is exactly what happened, basically. Yeah. The funny thing was, he was so good at it, and I crumbled. But I've got a few more years in now since then. Anyway, with regards to the farm, so this week I have actually been looking for new what are they called? Suppliers. So I've actually got 2 new suppliers of corals. One of them I haven't used yet. One of them I have. I'm not going to say obviously who they are. But so I got a load of corals this week. One of the corals I got loads of torches, which I don't usually have torches in stock, just because torches are something that people love, but I don't love them. And the problem with it when you own a coral farm, you get the things in that you like, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're the things that are going to sell. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to break my dislike of torches, and I'm going to just buy I think I bought 30 heads of them. So that's the first thing that I did. The second thing I did is I've decided to start dabbling more in soft corals. So I bought some soft corals, and they almost immediately sold out.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yes.
You've been talking about that for a little while.
Remember, I started when soft corals were like 15, 20 quid. If you want to have a nice bright green finger coral, they cost the same as LPS corals now. They weren't cheap. But they sold literally straight away. And I just thought, well, if people want them, might as well start getting more of them in. So you got if something sells, you got to keep trying to get more and more of that. I got clove polyps. Clove polyps are another thing which I got in, and I think most of those have sold. And again, I've just been doing a few different zoas. So that's there you go. They are some Reef Dork zoas. The ones on the very right at the top.
Rainbow incinerator. And so actually, I still have these in my tank. That is a very accurate photo, and that is what they look like under white lights.
Yeah.
Under blue lights, they look, I'm going to have to swear now, sorry. No, effing amazing. They are so nice.
They are nice.
So bright.
I like that you complain. You're always like, if they're too blue, you're like, oh, it'd be maybe a bit more white. If they're too white, you're like, nah, a bit more blue.
I know, yeah. Fake lime chilies, they're Reef Dork zoas as well. They're really nice.
Did they come from you originally?
Yeah. Yeah, I bought a colony that was on a disc. It was about 5 inches across, and it was completely covered. I was like, wicked, and there were a few bits popping off the side. I was like, don't worry, I'll just pop them off. I'll frag them, and then I'll have my colony. So I did that. A week later, it doubled in size, and I kept doing that, and I kept taking frags back to Reef Keeper. And then a week later, I'd have a million more, and I was like, do you know what? This is too much. So I had to get rid of it. because it was growing so fast.
So you gave me that problem.
Well, that's when you get a colony that size, they grow fast.
Yeah.
But like if you just had a few, it's great. But yeah, that to me, having a colony like that it was a shame because they're really nice as well. And again, they look nice under blues.
The ones that go crazy are often the brown ones. So having ones that are like really, really popular are good. So interestingly, so what I'm going to start doing, if I notice things in the coral farm which I think are interesting, I'm going to start writing them down. And so coral warfare is always an issue when you have a coral farm because you want to try to get as many corals into a smaller space possible so you can fit more corals in. Now there are some corals where you go, right, if you put a torch coral next to a frog spawn, you wouldn't be surprised if the torch coral stung the frog spawn, would you? No,
I would not.
Okay, so if you put, I don't know, a Duncan's next to a Montipora, which one do you think would win?
Duncan and a Monty. They're both pretty like, I don't know.
Monty? Okay. A Goniopora with a Montipora. Which one would you think would win?
Goni.
Okay. Yeah. Which one would you think would win out of these two? A Sophastria and a Chalice.
Sophastria and a Chalice.
The Sophastria killed the Chalice.
Really? That's amazing.
I was shocked. I'd never, literally, you know how like every so often you see like, we've been doing this for years, and sometimes something comes along and you go, I never ever expected that would happen. Yeah. The Sophastria killed the Chalice, and I have no idea why. Now, I've had Chalices kill other Sophastrias, but this specific green Sophastria killed this specific Chalice, and so I'm now going to put it next to other corals to see who wins against it.
What Sophastria is it?
It's just a green. It's like a really, really bright green Sophastria. It's definitely a Sophastria.
What Chalice was it?
Yeah. I think it's on the website. It's under an orange dot Chalice. I think it grows really, really fast.
Because chalices I found when I had my water box, because it was quite small. It was the same kind of size as the cade over my shoulder. I had chalices in there, and they get a bit aggressive, especially that Stellaria chalice.
Yes,
it's stunning. But if it gets within 10 feet of any other living life, it'll wipe it out. The chalices I found, so actually some aren't that's wrong, but they're one of the corals that you got to look out for, I would have said. And Sophastria are weedy little.
Exactly, they're like the coral version of you. So
exactly.
So it's funny because when I was in the coral farm, I thought of that joke, and I was like, yes, I'm definitely going to say that joke. So, but yeah, I thought it was interesting that even after all these years and all these corals I've dealt with, you still are learning that some things just like they're just different to others.
Yeah.
It's like I've got a Montipora in the coral farm, which is 2 tones of green. You know how you see grafted Montiporas?
Yeah.
Well, where it's normally red and green or whatever. I have one Montipora, which is 2 different shades of green, a dark green and a really, really lime green, which is not the most overly exciting one. But have you ever seen that before?
I haven't, but I feel like I don't need to see that, if I'm honest.
Well,
but I like Monty Andata.
Don't say that because I'm gonna propagate it, and it's gonna be like the Prestige Reef, I don't know, Green Goblin Super Hulk Montipora.
I've just found a coral on your website that I like, actually. Well, not that shouldn't sound so
that's sold today. So sometimes, so I need to remove that from the website. So don't go and buy that because that's sold today. That's the one problem with people coming to the farm, because obviously sometimes the website, if I don't deal with it in the moment, is slightly out of date. So, but that only usually happens with like one of a kind pieces, like that one, for example.
Yeah. That was nice. That's still like I just scrolled through and I was like, "Ooh, it's not special colors, but it's just there's something."
You get them relatively like if I knew that you wanted that, I could get you another one like pretty easily.
Yeah, okay. So, the only thing is, I'm trying to avoid green or red corals because all corals are green. Well, no, impulse buys are fine, but I got too many. I don't want to end up with a tank that's full of green and red corals. That's like there are so many tanks that just look a bit meh. They're just like 50% green. It's like, so I don't want to end up with that, but you can't really help it because so many corals are green. But
yeah, I had a message from someone. They're probably listening actually, and they said they want a mystery box or that doesn't have green corals. That very much limits what corals I can send you.
Yeah. I mean,
in fact, I've had 3 people today say to me they don't want green corals, which is this is becoming this thing. Before, people were just happy to keep a coral alive. Yeah. Now it's like we don't want a green one. So, but
I mean, there are plenty of corals that aren't green, but that seems to be the most common color by a mile.
I have a torch coral, which it's not on the website, which is a shame. And I don't think I'll ever be able to get a picture of it that actually shows what it looks like. But it's green, but when it moves, it like turns gold. They must have this like special name to it. It's not one of the normal common ones that you get. But it's and people when the funny thing is when people are in the farm and they see a gold one next to it or this one, they're like, I'd rather have the gold one. But for me, who sees thousands and thousands of corals, that one's the special one. But that's another part of my week in reefing is that I have bought my Love to Reef tickets. So when I say tickets, me and Jamie are going. And when I say I bought them, Jamie bought them for me. So, or Jamie booked them. But I think you're away, aren't you?
I've got a feeling is that the middle of May? Where is it? 18th of May. Yeah, 17th of May. I'm almost certain I won't be around that weekend. I don't know if I actually got anything booked in. Let me have a look and see if I've got it booked in. Oh, actually, just because it's not in my diary doesn't mean I've not booked it, to be fair. There's nothing in my diary, but that doesn't mean...
You can come join us.
But my missus has probably told me, and I'm almost certainly not around that weekend. But if I am, I'll go.
It was good. It was good last year. In fact, I've been a couple of years, I think now. Yes, so it's well worth going. Just for the sake of just hanging out with a load of, I think it's about 150, 200 other reefers. It's just nice to all be like, just get together and be weirdos.
No. So this is the website, love2reef.com. Tickets are 20 quid. And it's all day Saturday. It's just Saturday, right? Yeah. Saturday.
Yes, it's just Saturday, yeah.
Yeah. 10:30 to 3:30.
Yeah. And I know you said, Alex said to me just before the live stream, like, maybe not so much bad news. I have one bit of bad news, but it was also good news. And it was such bad news that when it was good news, like the feeling that it gave me was unbelievable. Like, I'm not even joking. A grown man, I'm not the most emotional person. It was almost like, I feel like this is the sort of moment that people cry in. Anyway. So I use Prezi Pro with all the fish that are in the water box tank. Prezi Pro is known for suppressing the appetite of fish, where some of them will just stop eating. I will not be using Prezi Pro again. It's just, I don't like it personally.
What does that do? Sorry, is that for flukes?
It's for flukes, yeah.
And
I used it because obviously the king I had flukes, but it seems to be they claim it's not harsh. I think that the fish don't like it. And I've used it where you don't put copper in and it's really, really well aerated. Anyway, if there was one fish that I would not want to have a problem with appetite loss, what fish would it be?
The king eye angel?
It was close, but a fish that's even harder to get than the king eye angel.
I don't know. I can't remember what you've got now.
The Japanese masked swallowtail male.
Oh, no.
Didn't eat for 9 days.
Oh, my God.
9 days. And, like, can you imagine the fear inside me? 9 days of not eating. So I... And anyway, it's good news. Good news. So obviously every day fish was eating everything. It would eat pellets, nori, like all different mysis, krill, everything. It would eat everything. It just would not eat anything, nothing. And it gradually, day by day, stopped eating different things to eventually nothing. So after 9 days, in the end, it started eating nori, which I thought was interesting. Okay, there was one thing that I did in that 9 days. I took it out on the 9th day and I gave it a freshwater dip. No idea why, but it worked for the king eye when the king eye wasn't working. Well, it wasn't eating. And that's because the king eye had flukes and it couldn't see the food. Now, it didn't have flukes, but it did work. And I don't know why. So the next day it started eating nori. And then I put these little tiny copepods in there that would just happen to be in the bottom of my freezer. And it started pecking at those. And that was when I was like, it was like this overwhelming feeling of relief is what it was.
Yeah.
And the reason I decided to mention it is because if you think you want an expensive fish, you don't want an expensive fish. You really, really, really do not want expensive fish because it takes the fun out of the hobby. And would you agree to some extent that that's the case?
So, I mean, my Japanese angel, it wasn't that expensive. So compared to some of the, like your king eye, for example.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it probably is the most expensive fish I've bought, but only just like the white-tailed cold tang. No, in fact, it's not. My gem tang was more expensive. So I don't have that feeling with it, but I don't like. I don't have any tangs at the moment. I don't want tangs because I don't want the hassle of them.
Yeah.
I don't want the disease risk and all that sort of stuff. And when my gem tang died, that was an expensive fish. That hurt. That hurt my wallet as much as anything.
The stress of when it was ill. I bet you were thinking, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die. And every day.
To be fair, the gem tang just died. It was looking fine and then it died. So I didn't have that. But with the cold tang, it was like that for a long time. And I was like, oh God. And I'd had the cold tang for a few years probably. And that was, it was still a lot of money. And it just, I was more attached to it than the gem tang. No offense to the gem tang. But, so yeah, totally. And actually, to be fair, even I had that with my scarlet hawkfish. That was probably 50 quid.
Yeah,
but I'd had it for 5-6 years, so that's a bit different. I guess
that's sentimental value rather than actual value.
He was a mate.
Yeah, I just think I don't think I will buy any more expensive fish. I'm done with regards to fish because it's nice having them, but when it goes wrong, it's like really, really not nice having them. So, and yeah, unfortunately, I did lose another fish this week. One of the mollies. You know the mollies?
Yeah.
If I moved it from one of the tanks into another tank. Now, in that tank contains 2 triggerfish, which were purchased to sell to other people. But I don't sell any fish from the quarantine tank while the fish are in there, because obviously I don't want to pass anything on to anyone else. So there were 2 triggerfish in there, the king eye and a gem tang, and also a blue assessor. The molly is the same size as the blue assessor. The blue assessor, fine. Molly goes in. Triggerfish think it's food, eat it immediately. It was like within 5 seconds, it was gone. But why? It's just exactly the same size as
a molly though is a very docile.
But these are blue throat triggerfish. They are known for being reef safe.
Yeah, but that to me, that fish looks like prey to me. Like I can imagine how a fish that size would look at a little dithering, oh, everything's okay. I can't really swim very fast. I'm sure he won't eat me. I can imagine how that he would see that as food. I wouldn't have thought that, but as I was putting it in, I can see. I've had that before I put in a jawfish, and within 5 seconds, literally within 5 seconds, maybe even less, my tuskfish ate it immediately.
Yeah,
it's horrible to watch as well. That was.
Yeah, and it's. And the other thing that bothers you is the fact that you did it, as in like that fish was fine in the tank next to it. I thought, it's too busy this tank. I'll move it over, and it was, as I said, 5 seconds, and both of them went for it. And these are really peaceful fish that have been in a tank with other smaller fish. So I just wonder why, like, did it know it was a freshwater fish? Because all the other fish are fine with it.
Because you say it looks the same size and all that sort of stuff, and I'm sure it looks the same to us, but I reckon a fish will look at that and think, yeah, that's different. So that to me, I can understand why a fish would see that as prey.
I just remembered as well, which has also given me fear. Remember I said that mollies have never bred? They have bred in the quarantine tank. Just one single molly, tiny, in with an angelfish, which is like 50 times the size of it. And the angel's not eating it. The trigger, what else is in with it? It's in with an angel, the convict tang. And I just thought, well, you've lived this long. And every day I look at it, I'm like, yep, still there. It's just this little baby one. Now, I don't know if mollies have more than one offspring at a time, but if they do, the others got eaten.
Yeah, okay. I think they probably have quite a few, don't they?
Well,
freshwater.
But that is my week in reefing for you.
Okay. So I wanted to, so I'm going to segue on actually from that, because I've, I talked last week about algae in the tank, and after I went, there's still a fair amount there, I was thinking, but after the live stream, I went away and I had a look at the tank, and I was like, actually, the algae's almost completely gone. There's some on the back glass, but it's only been a month, and the only algae eating fish I have in there is the rabbit fish. Nothing else. No tangs, no blennies, no nibblers. And he's just demolished. And there was a lot of ulva in there in particular, and a lot of green hair algae. I pulled out a few bits. I did my bit, and I felt like I was doing the heavy lifting for a point, but he's taken over completely, and he's blitzed almost all of it now. And I think probably in a month's time, I won't be able to see anything.
Have you noticed your nutrients go up?
I would have noticed if I tested.
Okay. The reason I asked,
test this week and I didn't.
The reason I ask is because obviously all that algae was being grown by the nutrients which you were putting into the tank. The fish now has the ability to eat 24 hours a day, essentially, or obviously not when it's sleeping, but so it's now pooping all that into the tank. And that's what I noticed. When the algae goes, your nutrients shoot up.
Yeah. That probably has happened, but I've not tested my parameters for longer than I care to admit.
Okay.
But and actually I had a torch dye the other week. For like it was expensive. It was a holy grail, and it was really nice. Like it was.
Tell you what, I got another one in stock right here for you.
It won't be as nice as the one I had. It was amazing, and it had been in captivity for a while. I got it from another hobbyist, and it just over the course of it was always kind of. Sometimes it looked amazing. Other times it was like sulking. It was never like most of my corals. They're always fine. Every now and then they'll sulk on it, but 90% of the time they're fine. This one, 50% of the time it's fine. 50% I was thinking, is there a problem? And this one, and then over the course of a month, it just faded and died. And I was like, I have no idea why. I tried moving it to the sump in case it was being eaten by. I was thinking, is my rabbitfish turn? Do I need to get rid of him? So I moved it to the sump. No difference, just wilted and withered and died. So I had no idea what got it, but it just died. And it's like, great. But that's why I hate torches.
Torches were used to be sold as beginner corals.
I know.
When I first started, a torch coral was considered a beginner coral, other than like soft corals.
Yeah.
I wonder though if that is because if green torches are easier to keep than all these fancy, just these basic standard green ones. If they're easier to keep than the fancy ones people have these days. And that's why torches now have a bad reputation because of
I wouldn't be surprised if there are some slight differences, like biological differences with torches, and maybe some are slightly different or whatever. I know, but this is so the but yeah. So about 3 years ago, I made a video called I can't remember what it was, but it was the premise was it was corals that you think are beginner corals, but they're really not. And torch corals was on the list.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, hang on, I researched it. I was like, do people actually say torches are beginner corals or do they not? And I went and watched a few videos, and there was a BRS one, and that was at the time when BRS were flying and were amazing. And it was on their list. And so I was like, so this is still up to date. People are saying that torches are beginner corals. And I was like, they're not. No. But this is the thing is, I have another one in there that's a Dragon Soul or Hellfire, whatever. Had it for a while. It's absolutely fine, and it never ever sulks. It looks really good. So if you get a good one, or if you get lucky or whatever, they are fine and they're really hardy. But the problem with them is there are more. Like if you buy 10, I don't know, what are they called? Toadstool corals.
yeah, all 10 will be fine.
They will all be fine for the next 2,000 years. If you buy 10 torch corals, 5 of them will die, 5 of them will be okay. So that's the difference. That's why it's not that they can't be hardy. It's just that they're every now and then, I'm going to die today. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So.
Yeah, actually, do you know what? I found something out. I watched and that was the point of that, though, was I don't need a tang. Because I've been pretty sure I was going to get a tang.
Yeah,
you don't need one. I need one. I was thinking about getting a yellow blotched rabbitfish, another rabbit. Might be asking for trouble.
Yeah, sometimes rabbitfish don't like each other. Although I had 2 fox faces together, a bicolor and a magnificent. And they were fine most of the time, but not sometimes.
So I've seen, I can't remember what it was. I think there were 2 bicolors or something like that. I saw 2 similar fish like that went into one tank, and it was carnage. This guy on Ultimate Reef reported about it. Yeah. A real proper regression, nasty, like, oh God. But I went to, when Sean was at Ocean Project, he had a coral tray with 2 rabbits in there that I want. and they were completely fine. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I had a chat with them about it. So I'd try it. I would try it. And then worst case scenario, I've got a trap, I can catch one. And they're quite easy to catch. Touch wood. But I might do that. But I don't need a tang. Why get tang? I did try to find a Halloween urchin this weekend, but couldn't. So I'd like another urchin.
I got one of those as well.
Have you?
Yes,
I need to come and see you.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I got one. I usually, every so often, I'll just buy more and put them in the coral trays, and then I sell them as people come in. So I can always get another one. But yeah, I've got like quite a big one.
Yeah, okay. But I don't want any more algae fish. I don't think I need it. I just think there's that one rabbit fish for a 6-foot tank. That's good going because it was covered. And I was thinking there's no way he's going to be able to do it on his own, but he has.
You're thinking about a wrasse, aren't you? Because you messaged me about it a couple of days ago. And I didn't know what that wrasse was. Why do you what's special? Like, why do you want that wrasse? Is it something fancy?
It's semi fancy. Yeah, they're a little bit expensive as well. I think I'd expect it to be quite cha-ching. But I've been trying to work out what fish I want because I haven't really had a proper plan. I've got like 2 or 3 fish that I want, but I've not really thought about it. And this weekend I sat down. I was like, right, what do I actually want? And when I say what do I want, I don't just mean 2 clownfish or whatever. I mean, what do I want to achieve by putting these fish in the tank? Am I looking for something that eats pests or algae or whatever? I'm not really looking for that. But what I am looking for is some colour and some activity, because I've got plenty of fish that hide in the rocks and like a hawkfish and that sort of stuff, at blenny, those sorts of fish, loads of that. And I've got a couple of fish that are like pelagic and in the water column, but not enough. And what's the best kind of fish for activity? A wrasse.
Right.
So I was thinking, well, what do I want then? Halicoris wrasse. I've got a yellow wrasse already. He's cool. I don't really want a silver belly. I really like them, but I don't think I want one of them. When
they get older, they're a bit ugly.
They go really drab. Yeah. When they're young, they're amazing. They're really bright. But when they get older, they do go drab. That's exactly what I'm thinking. And the yellow wrasse they fade a little bit as well, to be fair. But the silver belly, it was just like, I don't really want a mystery wrasse because they can get aggressive, apparently. I don't want a radiant wrasse. I think they're boring. Although the wrasses that I really like the tamarin and the what's the other one, the macro wrasses. There are some really nice wrasses, but they're not worth the hassle. They'll die basically. So I was thinking, well, let's get some fairy wrasses then. And the fairy wrasses I've had before, flash wrasses, whatever they are, there's various types. The fairy wrasses I've had before that I really like were Solon wrasse, which is blue. Mainly blue.
I don't know what these are. Wrasses are my worst fish knowledge for some reason. It's because I've never been interested in them. I have wrasse specifically for pest eating. Other than that, I know that as a koi wrasse. I think is what.
Also known as koi wrasse. So they're not they're no good for pests as far as I'm aware anyway. But they just look cool. You don't get many blue fish, do you?
I know, but they're a bit.
You don't like them.
I don't like it. I'm not sure why I don't like it.
I think they're stunning. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and they're they're not characterful, but they're out and about loads, and they're an unusual color. So I love them. So I want one of those, and they're peaceful as well. Definitely want one of those.
Okay.
And I was looking at, there's a wrasse chart that I was looking at. What was the other one I was looking at? Carpenters? No. Oh yes. That was it. There's one fish. It's got to the point now I get comments on this fish more than anything else. I haven't had this fish for years.
It's the Naoko, isn't it?
It is the Naoko. When if anybody comments, like often you get someone do a timestamp. What fish is that?
Yeah.
I don't even need to check now. I literally don't click on the link. I just put Naoko wrasse, and every now and then I go, well, I'll just double check. And it's always that Naoko wrasse.
I'm going to comment on one of your pictures, and it'll be like a powder blue tang or a clownfish.
Yeah. But it's these guys, and they look quite boring in the photos, but they show off and they do dive bombs, and he was a character. So I want those two. And the other one I mentioned to you though, that was a bit more fancy, is a rhomboid wrasse.
Yeah,
that's this bad boy.
I think under the right lighting, they'll look probably amazing. See the picture on the left? That's what they look under, like white lighting.
When you see them in your local fish shop,
one,
yeah, you would look at it. You wouldn't look twice at it.
That's why I was wondering why you wanted it.
Because I just think that, so actually, as part of it was because if I'm going to get a Solon and a Naoko, I want other wrasses that will play nice. And I was looking down this list of wrasses that go well together and wrasses that don't, and that was in the peaceful category, and they're fine together. And I just don't want any risk, because I was thinking of a carpenter's wrasse as well, but they might be funny with the Solon wrasse. I can't remember, because they're both Cyrillibus or whatever. I can't pronounce.
Carpenter's wrasse are some of the weediest ones. They're the ones that get bullied by like the Melanaris and the yellow non-chorus.
Yeah, but sometimes those fish can get a bit aggressive with each other. Generally, they're okay. I want to reduce any chance of risk, basically. So that was part of the reason I was looking at the rhomboid wrasse. But they are really nice as well. And I've seen there was a guy I saw who had a load of wrasses, and he had a rhomboid, and it looked really nice.
I reckon that people buying fish, wrasses are the ones that they get wrong the most.
Oh, really?
With regards to aggression with each other.
Yeah, okay.
Because people generally know, they sort of like expect that if you buy two tangs, there's going to be a problem. But you don't so much expect if you buy like I didn't know when I got it that this was a long time ago that a Carpenter wrasse and a Melanaris wouldn't go well together. I was told they'd be fine, and it turns out they weren't. So I reckon of all the fish, where people try and mix them, people assume that mixing wrasse is fine most of the time.
Totally. So I think I do as well. With Halichory's wrasse, they generally are. But even then, I had my silver belly and my yellow wrasse together because I wanted a pair. But you can't really keep pairs of them. So I thought, well, let's get a silver belly and a yellow.
I have a pair of them.
Of what?
Of two yellow wrasse in the coral farm.
Give it time.
They seem all right today. Today.
How long you had them?
Probably
a day.
No. I've had them for probably at least a year and a half, I reckon.
Wow, they've been fair enough.
Yeah, they are in there with a much more aggressive wrasse, so probably just hiding from that one.
yeah, mate. But either way, I didn't want the risk. I didn't want to risk too, so I was like, I'll get a silver belly and a yellow because they'll be okay, and they look pretty almost similar, kind of.
Yeah.
And they were fine for years, and then towards the end, after about 5 or 6 years, I can't remember which way around it was, but one of them decided the other one was. He's like, I've had enough of you. And you're going to get a slap now. And he kept bullying him. I think it was they don't live that long from what I can gather, 5 to 7 years, and who knows really. But that is roughly the time that they're towards the end of their life. So I wonder if one of them was dying. And animals pick on weak animals, don't they? So maybe you could see it or something. But just for whatever reason, suddenly he was like, and he chased him. And as soon as he came out of his cave, he chased him back in there, which is really unusual for Halichory's wrasses. Mostly. Although your mate, the Melanaris, is right dickhead. So
my Melanaris has been fine. The worst fish I have in the coral farm are probably the jade wrasse, jade wrasse, and I have some 6 lines in there as well. You do these things. You do these things sometimes where you go, oh yeah, I'll just get a 6 line. It'll be fine. These 6 foot by 3 foot coral trays. There's plenty of room for it to like swim around in. But no, they are a pain in the ass. Sometimes anyway.
I've wanted. That was one of the when I was researching my first tank. I drop a list of the fish I want, and a 6 line was on there. And I've never had one. I still want one to this day. But
they're not that nice once you've got them because
really,
in a picture of them, you go, oh wow, they're like all this rainbow color, like because they've got all the colors of the rainbow on them, don't they? But that's only when it's like like zoas look amazing when they're like zoomed in on the camera, and then when you get it to your eye, it just looks brown or whatever.
Whenever I see them in the shop, I think they look really nice, purple and green.
Maybe it's because they're under blue lights mainly on the coral farms, so they're sort of like.
Yeah.
I think fish need white light to look their best.
Do you know what? I've actually been thinking the last few days. Yeah. Purple and orange with a green tail kind of. Yeah, I've been thinking the last few days because my Japanese angel, it looks lovely, but it's a little bit darker than most of the Japanese angels I've seen in the past. They're normally a lot more silver, so this one's a little bit darker. And my tank doesn't get mega blue during the day at all. It's white. You would describe it as white, but it's not like as white as yours is. So I've been thinking maybe I should bump the white lights up 10%. Or bump the blues down 10% or something, just to bring out some colour in the fish during the day. I always want blue in the evenings in particular. Yeah. But I wonder if it's worth doing that just to bring a little bit more spice.
I absolutely love the fact that tank is like really, really white during the day.
Yeah.
because the fish looks so good. When the king eye was in the coral farm, people were like, I don't get it. Like, there's nothing particularly special about that fish because it has this really white belly, and the white doesn't show up with the blue light, and obviously has contrasting like tiger stripes.
Yeah.
But under white light, you go, that is a nice fish. So it's funny because it's an expensive fish, but if you said to me that you had if you went, I won the lottery, would you get one? I'll go, yeah, I would get one of those. If you told me to get other fish, I'd go, probably not. The king I like really a lot. That would be my favorite fish, I reckon. Look at that. Look at that service.
I know, about time. Okay. And the other thing, actually, there's two more things. There was. Do you remember? You're going to hate this. Do you remember? I don't know, a month or so ago, we did a news thing about. There was a company in the UK who started selling steel aquarium covers.
Yes, and I thought that they might go rusty or
because steel rust, right?
Yeah.
So supposedly there's one type of steel, I can't remember what it's called, but it doesn't rust. It's like I don't know, whatever. It's a certain grade of steel. No, it's a certain type of stainless steel that doesn't rust. Yeah. But they contacted me about a week ago.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
And said, "Do you want one?" And I was like, "Oh, go on then," because I think they look really nice.
I can't remember them. You got a picture of them?
No.
This is the second thing that you have said something negative about that you have then gone and got.
I didn't say something negative. I said they look good.
Oh, did you? Maybe I said they were good.
I think so. Anyway. You definitely did. You're horrible to brands. That's the best. That's the best.
I'm horrible to brands.
Yeah, you're nasty. He hates them, guys. Honestly, but I just think they look nice. Because I've had polycarbonates before. It's the plastic covers. I just kind of got bored of them.
It'll be really is this to go on the Red Sea tank or the
K1? Yeah, the main one. Yeah.
I'll be really interested to see what in like a year's time.
As in if it's gone like completely rusty.
I may have to eat my words.
Okay.
But look, I don't know.
I'm not expecting it to rust, to be fair. I'm not convinced. I might find that I don't like it. In which case, I'm not like if I'm going to keep it. I'll make a video, but if I don't like it, I won't keep it. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But so that's my concern, is that I might not like it. But having looked from what I can see, I think they look really nice.
It's cool looking, but I kind of remember this conversation we had. There were a couple of things, like, does it restrict the amount of light going through?
I asked that. Yeah.
Will it rust? Those are the two. And because there's plenty of stainless steel things that rust. Mike, the sink in the coral farm is stainless steel, which is meant to be non-rusting, and it rusts. I mean, sure, it is in an environment that's meant to be a kitchen, and it's in like a very salty environment for 5 years. But yeah, look, I don't want to. I think I said this before. I don't want to, like, anyone who sort of innovates something. I don't want to say bad things. Just those would be my concerns. So. Yeah.
I like that it's different. I'm not so concerned about it rusting, to be honest. But the light as well. I'm gonna do a test. I've already thought how I'm going to do it. I'm going to cable tie the par meter into the exact right spot. I'll test it with my existing mesh net, and then I'll replace that with the new net, and I'll see. Then I'll be able to tell exactly what the difference is.
It's very important you're exact when you do put videos on YouTube.
I know. I'm just interested. I asked him and I said, "Does it make a difference?" And actually, the mesh holes look quite fine. But I was like, "Oh, maybe it's going to be worse." I don't. But I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Look, I'm glad you're doing it because I can have an honest opinion from someone that I trust. I'm not sure I would want it on my tank. I don't know. The reason I'm not sure about my tank is because the Red Sea has a rim around it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a brace,
a brace around it. So, what have you just realised?
No, I was just thinking. I gave him the measurements, and I was thinking, did I give him the measurements of the inside of the brace? I'm sure I did. I'm sure I did.
So yours goes inside the brace, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The water box doesn't have a brace on it, so you'd be able to see it from the top.
Oh, I see. Right.
So when you're looking at the tank, you'll have this silver line at the top of it.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Whether that will look weird or not, I don't know, but it's new.
It's a lot thinner than one of the things I don't like about the polycarbonate ones is they're quite thick. They're only like 5 mil. They're not that thick.
Yeah.
But that's quite substantial. Anyway, we'll find out. I'll tell you if I like it or not.
I look forward. When are you getting it?
I think it's on its way soon. Maybe next week. I don't know. It'll be soon.
I look forward
within the next few weeks.
To seeing it.
You'll look forward to saying I told you so.
No. As I said, look, anyone who starts a company or tries to make their way in the world, if you see what I mean, like, fair play to them, especially if you're going down a route which is like, this might become the next thing. You might put this on your channel and everyone goes, wow, that looks amazing. I want that. And it becomes the next big thing. Maybe. But someone has to take a chance with it. And it just happens.
It feels like it's something. Yeah, it feels like it'll be niche to me. I think most people will be like, you know what? I like my plastic. I know what I'm getting with that.
But how expensive is
similar price to the polycarbonate? I would have thought they'd be more expensive, but they're similar price. So I mean, which is cheaper. Yeah, oh really? Yeah.
Only because the polycarbonate ones are so expensive, and if you have a cheaper alternative, then people will want it.
Reef, God, I think they're the same price. I did have a look, but I didn't do a proper detailed comparison. So for a tank the size of the Cade, 180 quid. That's quite a lot of money. Yeah, which is what you pay for a polycarbonate roughly. Yeah. I mean, I could do an exact comparison. But they're not cheap, unfortunately. But if you want a cheap one, get the DIY ones. But the one problem is, the DIY one I've got at the moment, a DD one on the main tank.
Yeah,
I love it because it's really lightweight. It's just easy. Just you take it off and you thought it's great. But the mesh has already started pulling away in the corner, so there's a gap. So my picture spray could get through there, and because I made it. It sucked. It's like it's slightly off. It's like, you know. So that's one of the best things about the polycarbonate ones is someone who knows what they're doing has made it.
Yeah, it's not. That's the thing. Is the problem is not with the mesh cover ones. The problem is with the people that build the mesh cover ones.
Exactly.
And those people are us.
To be fair, the Cade tank comes with its own tank, so they build it, and that's perfect. The mesh isn't like at a funny angle. Yeah. All the corners are cut properly. But when I do it, and I've probably done half a dozen of them. It doesn't matter. I could do 1,000. I'd still make a mess of it. And on my tank, I have no lights to go around or whatever because there's no cable corners, so I've not even had to do the tricky corners or whatever.
So you just have to measure a square basically.
And
normally I would make fun of you, but I know I can't do it myself. So
no. And actually, there's one last thing we should move on because there's probably people here who are just like, mate, shut up, tell me about eBay. Okay. There's one last thing I want to talk about though. This was I mentioned before the stream, guy called Dimitri Tumanov, Treasure Corals.
Yes. Yeah.
He did a video this week with some really interesting hobbyists. Go and check it out if you've not seen it. It's about they've got this amazing tank, and they were talking about how they run it and how they do trace elements. I'm not really the type to go pixel peeping with trace elements, but it was just interesting, and they were talking about ICP tests and that sort of stuff. And one thing that I took away from it that I didn't know was that when one of the things they do to boost iodine, instead of dosing iodine, they feed nori, and apparently nori is high in iodine. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I feed nori, but I didn't know that.
I fact checked that, and the internet said it is true. So
interesting.
Yeah. So and what they were saying is, look, if iodine is low in all tanks on ICP tests, and that's certainly been my experience. But what they recommended, they said, well, look, start feeding an iodine, do it for 2 weeks. And then do an ICP and see if your iodine is low. And if it is, then you need to start dosing or whatever. But because I like the idea of dosing things that are low in my tank, like iodine or strontium or whatever, trace elements that are low. I don't really want to have bottles and droppers and all that sort of stuff. So if I can feed my rabbit fish, make him happy, because I don't really feed nori that much. So I want to do more. I do.
I use it all the time.
Yeah. Maybe your iodine's better. Maybe that's your secret. Maybe that's why your zoas do so well.
Maybe.
Anyway, we're going to move on because eBay. So there's one member question, and it's not a question. It's a wish.
Okay.
It's a happy birthday wish. This is from East Coast Reefer. It's Amanda Davidson's birthday. Where are you, Amanda? You're in the chat. There we go.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
And yeah, it's her birthday. Happy birthday, Amanda. 21 again, no doubt.
Has he sent you a gift? He sent me a gift. I actually still use the glove. Remember I was ill? He sent me a whiskey glass.
What did he send you? He did, yeah.
I use that when I don't drink very often, but when I do have a drink, that's the glass that I use. So it's funny because I used it probably like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I thought to myself that shows how often I drink these days. I thought to myself, I must say thank you to him because that's a really random but nice thing to do for someone, if you see what I mean.
Because I remember it was because you were unwell,
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. So it was, nice thing to do. I like
I'm
random
assuming he's in
acts
the
of
chat
kindness.
somewhere. He's usually here.
Probably, yeah. I like random acts of kindness like that. I was rethinking recently. Like my karma bank is normally quite high. There's normally lots of things I do just like day-to-day stuff that.
Yeah.
But and I feel like actually I don't know if I've done so much of that stuff lately. So I want to bring that up and do nice stuff. Nothing to do with reefing or whatever, just generally. But I like that. It was nice. Anyway, so yeah, that was the member question, which is not a question. Is that there is? Oh, I know there's a coral of the week and a fish of the week. So, what is the Prestige Reef fish of the week, Ryan?
I'm going for Yasha gobies, partly because I saw that post, and I know they're now your new favorite fish. But I really like Yasha gobies. I think they're a really interesting fish for both, like a nano tank especially, or a smaller tank especially. They do get a little bit lost in a big tank, but they're usually in the same place. Like they usually like find a burrow and they'll be there constantly.
Well, this is in the cade over my shoulder, and that rock in inverted commas 3D printed Yasha goby den that you can buy at reefdork.etsy.com. Yeah. That is right at the front of the tank. So it's perfect. And I was worried not worried, but I half expected them to go. There was a couple of rocks that they could live in. One that's perfect, one of the rocks, and that's around the back. But they didn't. Yes. They went, and the thing is that pistol shrimp, he's been in there on his own for about 6 months, maybe longer. These as a time of his life, they are great on their own. You don't need gobies with them, and they're really cool as well. They do dig around the sand still. But I was thinking, I don't know. But because he lived in there, as soon as they went in, he was like, "Lads, come in here," and he's hooked up with them.
Do they normally pair with a pistol shrimp? Are they fish that normally pair?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware. Someone commented on the Instagram post, interesting that you paired them with a tiger pistol. It
wasn't by choice.
It wasn't by choice, but I never. When my first ever pistol shrimp and goby pair, I spent ages researching how do I identify the right kind of pistol shrimp and which ones to go with goby. Generally, a tiger pistol. I always get the tiger pistol shrimp, and I've never had a goby that doesn't get on with it. So I don't know if that's their ideal match, but I always buy a tiger pistol shrimp, and I've never had problems. They always pair up.
They seem to go with one that's I don't know enough, but I'm just had a quick Google, and they seem to go with like a yellow one with red stripes on it. Is that not the one you
have? No. You see them with other types or whatever, but I don't. To be honest, I don't really care about the pistol shrimp. Some are nicer looking. They're cool characters. Yeah, but I don't really care. The thing for me that's cool is the goby and the shrimp together. I don't really care what they look like. The fact that they're working together is just
it's the
amazing.
Bulldozing effect that they have. That's the cool thing about them.
So funny. Yeah. In my Red Sea Reef, in my Peninsula 500, there was a pistol shrimp in the perfect spot right at the front, and it used to just bulldoze everything out of the way and then move it back in. And every day they wake up in the morning and they're like, right, let's do this again. This place is a bloody mess. I need to tidy it. It's so funny. I love it. It's so good, especially when the shrimp comes out. And
part of me have wanted them, but part of me also doesn't want one because I always was under the impression they make a load of mess. But your one doesn't seem to be doing that.
They make a localized mess. My wrasses are a much more pain in the ass with turning over the sand. I only got one of them, and he's a menace. But they make a localized mess, and sometimes they can spin out a little bit, but generally they've got that guy in there. His territory is 3 inches at most away from the den, even less than that probably. And he's got 2 entrances. And that's it. So he buries around, he digs around about 2 or 3 inches outside each entrance, and that's it.
I had a white-capped goby in a 1,000-liter tank. and that do you know what white-capped goby is? You know, they're tiny gobies.
Yeah, you've mentioned.
And they have them, and they pair with a pistol shrimp, which is bigger than they are, and it's white with like pink dots on it. And that found in a 1,000-liter tank found a home right at the back, so you never ever saw it. Like literally never saw it. And I had to feed lobster eggs to the whole tank to broadcast
just for
to
him,
get the food enough for him to be able to eat.
Yeah. So, I bought a jawfish that did that. He went and set up camp right in the far corner, literally the worst possible spot. The only time I ever saw him was when I took the lid off, stood on a pair of steps, and then did this and craned right around the back. Oh, so annoying. Did it on purpose. What else was I going to say? Prestige Reef Coral of the Week. What is the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week?
I just decided to go for something simple and basic. I'm going for Duncan's corals. And the reason I'm going for Duncan's is because they are easy corals and they might not be the most exciting coral to keep. But there's like, I put some in the water box and I have a newfound appreciation for them. You know how...
Please tell me you've got them on your website.
There possibly should be someone there. Maybe they've... No, maybe... Oh, yeah, there's blue. I have blue and I also have green ones. Is that picture to your liking? Is it too blue? Is it not blue enough?
That's good. No, that's good.
Go. It's hard to get a picture of the actual stem with Duncan's because you either get the top or you get the side of it, and then it looks weird. So, but yeah, I have blue Duncan's. I also have green Duncan's, but I think I've only got one left, so that's why there's a green one there.
Yeah,
but yeah, they are they're just easy, and also they're cool to feed as well. You know how some corals you can feed and they actually respond to it. Like if you try feeding a frog spawn, it doesn't do anything. Whereas if you feed Duncan's, they like close up and you see the food go into the middle. So yeah.
If you can see them close up as well, if they're close to the glass, so there's not like 2 feet of glass between you and them, they're actually a really pretty coral. And they grow when they grow out as well and become a colony, they look quite cool.
Underappreciated is what they are.
Yeah, totally.
The downside is, I don't know why, they're like crazy expensive to buy, like from a wholesaler.
Really?
Yeah, they're like expensive. You don't make very much money on them, but I don't like in the old days. You could they were just everywhere. Everyone had them, and they fragged them and so. But they just you don't get them as much anymore. I
would have thought you'd have an endless supply in the hobby of homegrown Duncans.
I thought that as well, but it's just they're not as readily available from the wholesalers anyway that you would think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, that is a Prestige Reef Fish of the Week and a Prestige Reef Coral of the Week, which means we're on to... we've got an hour left. That's brilliant. I was rushing it. I didn't need to. I'll carry on...
what are you worried about? We're pros.
I'll carry on Duncan's in that case. The only thing with them, is that Duncan on your mug?
That is a Duncan's on my mug. Everyone thinks that I'm drinking a mug that has weed on it, like marijuana on it. Yeah. Everyone thinks that about this mug. This is, you know how there's like 4 Prestige Reef mugs? And there's like a Blasto and Recordias. This is a 5th one that no one has except me.
Ooh,
so it was a prototype. I decided, and then I was like, nah, maybe not.
The only thing about Duncan's I don't like. So I have 2 of them in the cade. They are there. You can't really see them, but they're there. And they're growing out and they look nice and they had a bit of movement and all that sort of stuff. But they are a bit boring, like color wise.
They're only boring to you.
No, they're boring to most people.
No, they're boring to you, someone who's been in the hobby for a long time. Yeah.
If you've been in the hobby for 6 months, they're boring. If you're within the first 6 months,
no,
I still like them. I'm not saying that they're terrible coral. I still like them, but they're not very sexy, are they? Like if you put it next to an orange gunny or a gold torch or whatever.
I know, but okay, imagine this. You've just entered the hobby. You bought a gold torch. It dies. Are you staying in the hobby?
No, you're not.
No, so you bought this sexy gunny and you put it in your tank and it won't open up. But next to it, you got this nice Duncan's coral, and you look at it, and it's grown an extra head. That's exciting. Yeah. That makes you feel good, doesn't it?
But that's what I'm saying. That's great, but they are a bit boring.
There and after 6 months, you're like, just disagree with you. He said they are not boring.
Where's the plug button? No, they are.
Plug button. I think they are underappreciated, and you are proving.
I completely agree.
I agree.
Right now. I'm agreeing with you. I have them in my tank. I've just spent 10 minutes telling you how great I think they are. I just think that they are a little bit boring.
Do you know what the funny thing is?
That's okay sometimes. GSP is boring. I've got that.
I put them in the water box tank, but I put them down the side because I don't want them to take up space for something nicer.
Exactly. You see.
Oh, actually, interesting one. Hoof-hearted has said I've just realised what that said. I prefer Duncan's versus trumpet corals. I agree with that as well. I sell so many trumpet corals, so many. I don't or candy canes, obviously, people. I don't. I would sell more candy canes than I sell Duncan's, but I think Duncan's are a lot nicer.
Look at that trumpet. Where is it? There it is. That's so nice. I love the trumpets are really nice. The trumpets are also a little bit boring, if I'm honest, though. They're just bright. And I like them. I bet these are all corals I've got in my tank.
Did you see that Gonny that I got? It is like this.
Is it on,
yes,
like
it's
what? Sorry for the podcast people. Like what?
Oh, it is the size of when it's closed. It's the size of a tennis ball. So when it's
open,
on
Prestige Reef Instagram or
it's on Instagram. It's pink, but it also like has different coloured polyps, and you're going to go, "Oh, that's boring. It just looks pink."
Oh no, I did see that. It just looks red.
The polyps are different colours. They're like pink and purple.
Ooh.
To me, that looks like
grey.
To me, that looks like a nice gunny.
I mean, it's a mobile phone photo, to be fair. So who knows? And I like gunnies. And I've got a burgundy gunny that looks really nice that you might think is really boring. I've got a red gunny that is boring, but it's nice.
Well, you're really selling it with the word burgundy, which has brown in it.
The colour of a vet's forearm, basically. So no, I might like that if I saw it in the flesh. That's an iPhone photo. So
I'm not. You've insulted it now.
Does that say discount 20? Is there a discount code at the moment?
Yeah. There's a few online sellers that got discount codes out at the moment, so I thought to join them. So yeah, there is the other reason it's been up for so long, I'm thinking about two different things, and I'm interested in your opinion, and I might get the opinion of everyone. So if I just permanently, when you put out a discount code for 20%, you get considerably more sales. There is a serious boost in sales. They basically double, if not maybe even slightly more. If I just lowered the cost of all corals by 20%, I don't believe it would have the same effect. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, completely.
So because some of the corals now I've grown and I've grown and I've grown. And there's a couple of reasons which I keep them sort of at the same price. Firstly, it's market price. So there's roughly some corals stay the same. Things like Jack-o'-lantern and Leptocerus have got a rough price. The gold torches, for example, they were really expensive. Now the price has come down, and you put them out for 120, 150, they'll go. But sometimes they used to be 250. Some of these corals, or even more.
I was looking at eBay earlier for the purpose of this video. There are some people are asking big prices for torch corals.
So I've lost my train of thought, but basically, I'm trying to work out.
That's exactly right. You think you're getting a bargain. That's exactly what I was thinking. People, literally word for word.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, do I keep occasionally putting discount codes out, or do I just lower the cost of the corals? But I don't believe it will have the same effect. So it's difficult. But I've essentially become what are those sofa people where it's winter sale, spring sale, summer
DFS.
sale.
Yeah. People joke that DFS stands for deals finish soon because they've always got a sale on.
But so with some corals, and the other thing is, so when you put a discount, some corals where if I'm buying them from a wholesaler, I will literally not make sometimes I make hardly anything on them if they're 20% off, especially if people get the free delivery as well.
Yeah.
So if you're getting free delivery and you're buying a torch coral, which I paid for, and obviously the VAT and everything, you don't make a lot, but it does work when they're buying something that I've grown. And usually what happens is people will buy some things you bought and some things you've grown, and it works out in the long run better.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the 20% discount is better, I'm assuming, then.
I think so. And also that also means if you just reduce the prices of some corals, I was talking to someone this weekend, if I sell corals personally, and I've not sold corals for a long time, but if I do, I never sell anything for less than 15 quid, because what's the point, basically? There's just no point. So there comes a point when I just don't think there's any point in going cheaper. But also, if you're putting up a 20% discount code, if you reduced the price of certain corals by 20%, that might not be what people want. People might be like, well, I want the torch. So you get 20% off that as well. So it's kind of, it's not just you who's gaining. It's the buyer also is sometimes, and you might go, you know what, actually, I also want a red digi as well whilst I'm there. But also you might be thinking, you get some nice fungi. You've got a nice fungi at the moment. Or is that gone? The
pink one's gone.
Oh, okay.
It's on Friday.
Yeah, not surprised. 200 quid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice coral. But so someone might think, that's a nice coral. I get 20% off that, and then rinsed. So anyway, go on.
So I'm thinking about what I'm really putting a lot of thought into how the company is run. I'll be honest with you, like, so there'll be some shops definitely, or there'll be some companies of all different types which will be really struggling at the moment. It is definitely quieter than usual. I've put a lot more effort in recently with regards to like getting people in and stuff like that, and you might think I haven't, but I haven't put a video out. So, but I have been. So basically, my sales have now gone back up to roughly about where they normally were. But that's from like actively going, right, I know this customer likes this specific type of coral. So if I get that type of coral in and then contact that customer personally, they are more likely to buy it.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
I have like, I think I've got a list of about 120 local people that so if I got something in that was like a really fancy gonny, I would come to you and go, like, you're not going to buy this because you're too tight. No, I'm just joking. But do you know anyone who likes fancy
tight? Am I? I'd buy it then. Yeah, exactly. No, that's good, because instead of just spamming like with random, oh, I've got new corals or whatever, you're targeting. Like, that's really
I do that, but there's plenty of corals that people never see because I know that the specific people buy specific things. So, which is to some extent, it might be unfair. You might be looking for a nice gonny, and I might come to you third, if you see what I mean, rather than first. But it's also easier for me to do it that way, because otherwise I have to create a web page and everything. But anyway, we are talking about eBay.
Well, we're ready for the news. Are you ready for the news?
I'm ready for the news.
Let's go. And I'm going to really annoy the people who've clicked on it just for eBay, because I promise we'll get there. But there are two stories I want to talk about first in the news, and I'll be quick. First one, there's a new edition of Ultramarine out at the moment. I think so. I pay a subscription, so I get this in the post. So I don't know if I get this a week early or whatever, but this will be available in all good local fish shops and some rubbish ones too, which is a reference to Soccer Saturday. Soccer Saturday, anyway, whatever it's called. No, what was it called? Can't remember.
Don't worry, no one else got the reference.
They did. Tell me in the chat if you got it. And the other piece of news is, so I mentioned, we talked about earlier at the start, we talked about the price of stuff and all that sort of thing. I went into, and getting cheap stuff, all that sort of stuff. I went into Reefkeeper Moss End, obviously, this weekend. And they had a tank that has been announced now. In fact, let me start by telling you this. So this is the news: is TMC have launched this. It's called the First Wave Nano Reef Aquarium. We mentioned this recently. It had been announced. Now it's been launched. You can actually buy it. It's basically it's been inspired by, let's put it that way, the Fluval Evo is my impression. It looks like a Fluval Evo. It's the same kind of thing.
Do that.
And it's a beginner's tank. It's that kind of same kind of size, same kind of price, but with a few really cool differences that actually make it better, in inverted commas, in some ways. But anyway, I saw it in the shop this weekend, and I was like, that looks wicked. For a start, the dimensions are really good, slightly different to the Fluval Evo, but it's got a couple of other things that make it brilliant. It comes with a skimmer, which I probably don't really need for a tank.
I don't think that the Fluval doesn't come with a skimmer. I don't think.
No, you can buy a skimmer separately, but it's quite buzzy and noisy as well. Yeah. So I don't necessarily think you need a skimmer, but I think people will like that. That will be attractive to beginners. And that, to me, that tank is brilliant for beginners. And that will, because it's 200 quid for the tank, the light, the skimmer, and the return pump. So all you need to do is buy a heater, some sand and some rock, and that's it. You're away.
Yeah.
So 250 quid, let's say, all in. Might be a tiny bit optimistic. 250 quid, you've got your first tank and you're ready to go, and you can start putting fishing corals in.
Yep. That is the ideal way to get into this hobby.
Never mind your $5,000 Reef Dork tank. There's a 200 quid starter tank. And that's all for many people. That will be like, oh, sod it, yeah, do it. That's all right. Just what the hell, you can throw that money away. That's not a long decision. There'll be plenty of people who are like, yeah, I'll give that a crack. Why not? I've done a bit of research. So I love that. And actually, I emailed TMC when I got back from Reefkeeper, and I was like, look, I saw this today. I think it looks wicked. Can you send me one? I'm not going to keep it. I'll give it away afterwards, after I've done the video, but I want to make some videos about it because it's so good. And I think it will encourage new people into the hobby. And 100%. I want to make videos to tell people, because I've not really seen much about it. So I want to tell people why that's a good beginner tank, apart from the fact that it's 200 quid.
That's exactly what this hobby needs. There's only one downside. I don't know if this isn't about the tank. The downside is the mentality with regards to owning a nano tank. People think, and it's true to some extent, that nano tanks are harder than larger tanks. So when I first got into the hobby, my first tank ever was 400 liters, purely because I was under the impression that a nano tank would be impossible to keep. So somehow we need to get past that bit, like with regards to people, that fear with regards to starting with a smaller tank. But
I think that's gone a lot because nano tanks are really popular now.
Oh, okay.
And the prospect of doing a water change on a 400 litre tank is quite daunting. The prospect of doing a water change on a tank that's after displacement is probably 40 litres. You just need a jug, scoop in, chuck it away, job done, basically.
You know me, I'm not in the world of nano tanks, so I don't know. But you are correct. I have heard that they're like very, very popular.
Yeah. So I think that would be really popular. So they're gonna send me one. I'm not gonna keep it. So I won't run it long term. But I'll set it up. I'll show you what's what, and then I'll give it away to a subscriber, which is also it'll have to be someone local, I think, because if I post it, it'll smash, and I don't want that. But there you go.
I'll be waiting outside the house once you've done the video.
No, you won't. You don't care about that. Anyway,
I've actually got a fluval tank, one of the little ones in a box that I've never opened.
That's funny. We are now going to talk about eBay. So thank you all for sticking with us for this long. This is the big story of the week, basically. Oh, there's one more piece of news. I'll come on to that later. The big story of the week is eBay. So eBay have banned the sale of live animals. And I saw this, actually, someone posted this on the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook group. Yeah. And then a couple of days later, it got picked up by a few other places, Reef Builders and various other places, all that sort of stuff. So I thought this was just UK, but it's not. It's worldwide from the looks of it. And the email that they've sent to sellers, I didn't get this, but I've seen it. It says, in fact, let me share my screen so you can see what I'm reading from. We are writing to inform you of an important update to our selling policies, blah, blah, blah. As a commitment to ensuring safe and responsible marketplace and in compliance with regulatory guidelines, we're expanding our policy prohibiting the sale of live animals on eBays to include insects, fish, live bait, and other animals. It doesn't say corals, but it does mean corals. This change will be implemented in 30 days after the receipt of this email. And I think this was a few days ago, so less than 30 days now. And we kindly request your cooperation in complying with this policy. The following insects and animals will be prohibited, including bees, crickets, ladies, blah, 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 blah. The last one is there.
Fertilized eggs. Is on. But let's put it this way, for the people that are wondering, because even I've thought to myself, oh, maybe they don't mean corals. If they're not laying fertilized eggs on there, they're not laying corals on there.
They mean corals. Yeah. And it says tropical fish. That doesn't mean neon tetras. Yeah. And I think this is one of the reasons that they've done this. I've lost my page. I had the other page. Oh, never mind. So I had another page set, and it's the eBay thing says, this is what we're doing. And then it says, this is why we're doing it. In fact, I'm going to find it because that was worth looking at. Here we go. Right. So why does eBay have this policy? And it says this policy helps ensure that government regulations are followed. And they talked in the main announcement about so we can comply with regulations and all that sort of stuff. And I think part of the reason that they've done this, and this isn't just corals, is because they do, like, for example, if you get in the UK at the moment, if someone imports an acantophilia, that has not been done. You're not supposed to do that. Okay. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but you're not supposed to do it. I don't know if it's illegal or unlawful or whatever. That's not supposed to be here. eBay doesn't know what an acantophilia is. You show me one, I can tell you. They don't know the difference between an acantophilia and an acan, So they are not experts in this sort of thing. And there must be so many other animals, because corals weren't even listed here, so many other animals that they're like, well, hang on a second, which bees are they allowed to sell and which not? So I think that there was probably part of this in the background. This is complete speculation, but I suspect that part of this was that people sell animals that they shouldn't be selling on eBay, and eBay doesn't want to get in trouble for, or maybe eBay's got in trouble, but I suspect it doesn't want to get in trouble for selling stuff that it shouldn't be selling or allowing people to use its platform to sell stuff. So that's probably part of it. And they've said this helps us ensure that government guideline regulations are followed. But basically, they don't want to sell. You can't sell fish or corals on eBay anymore, and this will affect various people. And another, I've lost the other link.
Hey, right, we're on the interesting stuff, so let's stick with this so far.
Yeah. So I did look at. I did a listing search for corals, right? And there were. Here we go. I've got it back. Yeah, brilliant. There are currently in the UK, and just if you search corals, let me just check, make sure my. Okay, actually, that's. I'll just click away from that. There are 7,500 plus listings. Now, some of them I scrolled through. Some of them are like coral skeletons, like decorative vintage coral skeleton, $4,000 or whatever. I don't know who's paying that, but if you want dead corals, speak to someone who keeps aquariums.
Yeah.
But there's loads of corals on here, and there are loads of some of them are like some. When you scroll through, some of them are just people like me who are just selling a coral occasionally. But there are plenty of when you look through, you see the same name popping up again and again. So there are people who have businesses that depend on eBay, and they used 100%. To go on Facebook was the same. You used to be able to buy corals on Facebook. Now you can't. There are ways around it, and apparently, still people they will sell corals on Facebook by calling them fake coral, or hey, you can buy this lovely biro for 55 quid and you get a free ACAN or whatever. You know. So there are ways around it, but that will massively reduce the traffic of corals.
I believe if you have a pet shop license, I do have a pet shop license, that you're allowed to sell on Facebook, and you have to, I think, because you see people do it and they post a pet shop license.
You can't put prices on, can you?
I think so, yes. Like I've sold corals on Facebook, and I put my pet shop license and stuff like that, and it wasn't banned. So I don't know if I
see shops posting their pet shop license sometimes, but anytime someone asks on a Facebook group about prices, they always say, "Please PM us. We can't tell you."
Yeah. The other thing people do is sometimes they just put a number on the picture. They'll just put like 10, and you just have to work out that it means £10.
But so the pet shop license is the thing. So there are plenty of sellers like you have pet shop licenses, and so it's you are regulated because you have inspections to make sure that you're doing the right thing, all that sort of stuff. But eBay doesn't know what the requirements are for a pet shop license, and probably 90% of these don't have a pet shop license, maybe 99%. Yeah. And so that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing or selling corals that they shouldn't be selling. I'm sure I don't buy corals off eBay, so I don't have much experience, but I'm sure there are plenty of eBay sellers who are brilliant, who really care about the corals, who know their stuff, and who are careful and do all the right thing, all that sort of stuff. But there will be others who are just chancers, basically. And I've seen, so in terms of pricing and that sort of stuff and the photos, sometimes every now and then you're like, come on.
Yeah.
But so this is kind of, it's kind of like the Wild West, I think, is my impression of eBay. Yeah. And there's not really any way of knowing who's who and what's what. It doesn't mean there aren't good vendors on there. There are loads, and there are some you can often tell if they've got 10,000 sales, and then they've got a good setup or whatever, or there's more likelihood that they have.
I think it will affect Americans massively. So buying corals on eBay in America is big. Worldwide Corals have their own eBay thing, so that's going to be a significant knock. But they're so famous that people will probably just go onto their website. But I believe what they did is they put corals on for like £1 or whatever, or $1, and then obviously they were bid up to whatever they. I think that's what they did.
Yeah.
There's only one downside to this from my perspective. So I had corals on eBay, but they were buy it now, and it was so that people could find me locally. So the people, and I got quite a few customers that didn't know about the coral farm, didn't know about the YouTube channel, but they found me through eBay, and then they become regular customers, and they keep coming back to the coral farm.
It's a marketing tool,
yeah. So for me, I use it as a marketing perspective. Someone said that eBay robs the sellers. It's actually free to post on eBay now. Like to list on eBay is now free.
You don't pay final value fees like you used to. So you used to, if you sell something for 100 quid, you'd only get 90 quid. Now you get 100 quid.
Yeah. So I actually considered starting to put some stuff on there. If you look under coral auctions, there are hardly any, and when there are some, they go for like a fraction of the value of what the coral would sell for normally, which I thought that was interesting because I thought more people would be looking on eBay, but you are right. Some people will be massively affected by this because you can see that they essentially run their whole company through eBay.
Yeah.
And they probably don't have enough. Like
profile.
if they're just someone's name, there's not enough to start a website. If you see what I mean from.
Yeah, exactly.
Will it have an effect on the shop? It was interesting. I think it was East Coast Reefer said that. Where was it? Just a minute ago. It was an interesting point because people will read this in two entirely different ways. It says really interesting that how disappointing this is going on. Reduced competition rarely benefits the customer.
Yeah,
that depends. If you're a customer that enjoys going to a fish shop, it benefits you because that fish shop is more likely to stay open. In theory, I don't know. Do you agree or disagree with that?
No, so I don't necessarily think that pricing is out of control in the hobby as a general rule. Shops are more expensive than eBay, and for the reason that this guy, Glass City Aquatic, says. Oh, that's Sammy 31D. eBay seller has minimal overheads, and they're undercutting entire business-to-business supply chain. So so if you're just a random guy selling out of your garage, then you have fewer overheads, especially if you don't have pet shop licenses and those sorts of things.
I like how you said a random guy staying out their garage. Yep, you've just described me.
But you know what I mean.
License.
No, you know what I mean, though.
Yes.
And and you have no overhead, so there's a difference there. But I generally there are some shops that are expensive, okay, and some corals in particular are expensive. But I think there's in the UK anyway. I think the market is fairly regulated. If you're buying a torch coral, you're going to pay buku bucks, right? But generally, most corals I think are not that expensive. The commonly available ones, it's the more unusual ones that are more expensive. So I don't think that losing eBay is suddenly we're going to see Monty Digis go up in price or whatever. But eBay shops will be cheaper because they don't have staff to pay. They don't have all sorts of things to pay, so rent, all the works basically. So that will reduce competition, and that will mean that there are fewer cheap corals available. Like I say, I never bought corals on eBay, maybe once or twice in 10 years. So
I bought a sunset Montipora off eBay. Turned up in a bag that was burst. So it was literally, to be fair, I put the coral in and it did live. But
really?
Like I have seen and heard some like absolute shock stories from some. So to some extent, it's more regulated. Is it more regulated? Yeah. But you see what I mean? People are buying this. Like anyone, you could have a tank for a day and then go, "I'm going to frag this torch coral, put it onto eBay." So and that person might not know what they're doing.
And also, so there's no way of knowing who's who on eBay. There are some the good ones probably rise to the top, but there are some. There'll be someone who will set up and they'll come up with a clever name, and they'll take some fancy photos, and then they'll suddenly they're selling corals. It's like, well, actually, do they know what they're doing? Are they are they treating people fairly or whatever? So there'll be plenty of people like that who pop up, and if you don't treat your customers fairly, you charge bad prices, you won't be around long. To be fair.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of small sellers that start up on eBay, and for a start, this is now that's a bad thing in a way. In some ways, it's a good thing because it means you don't get you regulation is good because you get rid of the dodgy people, okay. But at the same time, you're not going to get people. That's a way into the industry is. You're not going to if you decide, you know what, if I decided tomorrow I'm going to start selling corals, I'm not going to go and buy a unit. I'm not going to go and buy a shop and employ 10 staff. I'm going to start selling from home, and I'll do it on eBay, and I'll work up, and then in 50 years time I'll have worldwide corals number 2. But so you won't get people, you won't get so many people. That's a barrier to entry now. So that's not necessarily, well, that's a bad thing. So there's good and bad things. It doesn't affect me personally because I don't buy corals on eBay. I don't like buying corals online generally. No offense. but in eBay, I tend to find because of the way eBay insists you title things. The titles of eBay corals are like ultra mega rare, Goni, LPS, Zoa, SBS, Acro, and it's like, oh God. But that's just because how you have to title eBay. It's stupid. eBay listings is stupid, but I never like that. So I don't, searching through eBay for corals for me is not a pleasant experience. I don't like it. I like going to places like prestigereef.co.uk or Reefkeeper.
I think it's more, again, it's more of the earlier people. Maybe, look, I might be completely wrong, but is it more beginners that are searching for stuff on there?
I don't know who does actually. So Xavier says, how do you guys find who's a trusted seller online like eBay? And that's one of my issues, is I just don't know. I think probably over time you kind of get to know it. But then if you're a beginner, how do you know if someone's posting a photo that is, saturation turned up and all that sort of stuff? And so, but then how do you know if there's a shop that's any good?
That I think that's what they're saying. They're saying on eBay you can look at the feedback of someone and then go, this person has got 1,000 feedback and they must be good. Whereas if you look at my website, you don't know if you don't know who I am, you have no idea. And like,
who's this joker?
Yeah, who it is. It's it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that there'll be some relief from the shops. I think they will. Yeah. Some of the shops will be happy, if not all of the shops will be happy. To some extent, it makes it easier for me because people it's somewhere that people were buying corals that they can no longer buy corals.
Yeah.
But are
you going to put your price up now because the competition's going?
No, is the answer. But I'm not sure if it sounds weird. I'm not sure if I care either way. I'm not sure if I care people selling on there. I think some people will care. I think the people that were selling Zoas and stuff like that and then making enough to fund their tank, they will care. But I think because it's not something that I do and it's not something I was really properly seriously considering, I don't think it doesn't affect me, if you see what I mean.
There does need to be an alternative, right? So if you're a hobbyist, in the UK, ultimatereef.net is the best place to sell corals. Buy and sell corals.
Yes. That's why I realized. Sorry, just quick, because I'll forget. When I read that news, what I thought to myself is a lot of the forums have been like dwindling because people go onto Facebook more to ask questions these days, just purely because they're just on Facebook anyway. So it's easier than logging into a website. More people will go back to the forums potentially to sell corals.
The problem with, and this is, I say problem, it's actually not a problem. It's the beauty of Ultimate Reef as well. But the problem for some buyers and some sellers with using Ultimate Reef is selling corals on Ultimate Reef is a perk for people who use the forum. Yes. So if you're on there contributing regularly, that's what they want. They want people on there updating their threads, sharing advice, asking questions. And then if those people sell corals, buy and sell corals, great. If you're just going on there just to sell corals, that's not what Ultimate Reef is for. So if you're a business, and they don't allow businesses, so forget it. But if you're a hobbyist and you're looking for, and you've been selling corals on eBay, Ultimate Reef is the place to go without question. It's actually it's a good forum as well. It's a really I like Ultimate Reef. Yeah. But there does need to be an alternative. Someone messaged me ages ago, about 3 years ago. There's a place in America called Reef and Bids or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. I saw some kind of aggregating website that you can go on and sell stuff. That's what there needs to be, some big main website. But someone messaged me a few years ago saying, I think I had a call with him actually, saying, look, he's got this idea. He wanted to have a website called corals.com or sell corals or whatever, where I could set up a profile and I could sell corals on there. And you could set up a coral, it's basically eBay, but for corals, specifically for corals. And it never took off. I really liked the idea, but it never took off. And I can't even remember what the name is now. I think there's a place in Australia, Coral Collective. I can't remember. I'm sure there's a website in Australia as well that does the same thing. That's really what we need. And there was a place on Instagram called Morph. Someone in America, tell me what I'm talking about. Morph something or other. Who sell animals, live animals. It was like reptiles and stuff, but I think they did corals as well. And they posted to say, look, we're gonna boost our marketing and we're gonna help people sell. But there needs to be some kind of alternative because there isn't really any. Go on.
I just got my new business idea. It's gonna be called WeSellAnyAnimals.com.
We sell any coral.
We sell coral animals.
That's risky.
Because then all the people that get banned from Facebook and everywhere else can come and sell on my website.
Steve Irwin. It's called Morph Market. This was, so they posted about this, but this was, I don't know if this was about corals, but they did hashtag aquarium and aquatics and fish and saltwater aquarium.
Yeah.
So it is about corals. But they said they're offering 1 year listings of aquatics for free to those impacted, which is great. So if you're in America and you can't sell on eBay anymore, check out Morph Market at Morph Market on Instagram.
I think that's on a website called Aquarius Classified. I don't even know if it's still around.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't know.
I used to sell and buy stuff on there pretty regularly, but it sort of seems to have like died off, I think.
The Germans have that. The Germans. What do you Germans have? Tell us.
We sell any animals. That's what they have.
Yeah. Yeah. But there should be something like that, some kind of coral trading website, like a right
Free Love
for corals.
Pets Classified. Yeah, there's gonna be like a fish section of Pets Classified now.
Yeah, for sure. There should be something like that, but there isn't. And actually, it's a great idea. I'm not the first person to have it, but it's a great idea. But getting it off the ground, it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, because you have to have enough people on there buying and enough people on there selling.
Yeah, and you have to know what you have to make a good website and all this sort of stuff, and you've got to know your business acumen and all that sort of stuff. So, so Facebook used to loads of people used to use Facebook. Have you ever heard of Band? There's an app called Band.
Yes, it's like, I don't really know what it is. It's like little groups of people, isn't it? And I have seen people selling corals on there before. I
don't really know that. So I've bought and sold corals on there before. Isn't it? It's a weird app. People love to hate on Band. People love to call it just to criticize that sort of stuff. I don't really use it. I stopped using it because I sold this. What was it? It was a Monty of some kind, and I listed it as the Monty. It was what's the Stellata? Monty Stellata. I listed it as a Monty Stellata, which it was, and I know it was for a fact. Yeah. And someone got, it was like 15 quid or whatever. So it's like, and someone commented saying, no, I think that's, what's the other Monty it's like green, but it's like kind of tables but also branches. Histrix. No, anyway, whatever.
No, Hisuta.
Hisuta, yeah. Someone said, oh, it's a Monty Hisuta. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a Stellata, don't worry. And he said, no, I'm telling you this. I was like, no, I know it looks like it, but I promise you it's not. I've had it for a few years. And explain.
They look entirely different.
They look completely different. The photo, but it's like if he wouldn't let go, and I was like, do you know what, mate?
It's not worth the hassle.
That was my last experience of Band.
Yeah.
There's people. I think people still use Band, but I don't know. I don't really know about Band. But there aren't really any places like that. So there was Facebook, then they stopped doing it, and now there was eBay. eBay stopped doing it. So apart from online vendors and shops, there aren't places where you can just start upselling corals. Right move for
people's tanks are going to start overfilling.
I know.
What happens with these corals?
We're going to put them in the English Channel, and then we'll have a coral reef off the coast of Southampton.
No, they can go back to a local fish shop. If you think about it, if someone grows corals, then that coral is essentially within, like, it hasn't cost them a huge amount of money. Which means then they can sell it back to a local fish shop for not a huge amount of money, which means in theory they can then sell it for a relatively reasonable price. Idea? Don't know. Someone will tell me that's a rubbish idea.
No, that's great. So, and actually, people, you might not know, but if your local fish shop, if you take them a coral, they will buy it off you for store credit. Don't expect to get a lot of money. So if they're selling the coral for 100 quid, they're not going to pay you 50 quid. And what the places I've seen, they will generally, if they're going to sell a coral for 30 quid, they will give you £10, so a third, and that's store credit, not cash. That's store credit. That's a rough rule of thumb.
But that's good because you're going to spend the money in the shop anyway.
Exactly. That's it. If you're going to sell it on Ultimate Reef, you probably get a little bit more money. But if you don't want the hassle, if you're taking in a load of rubbish, if you just like peel off a load of pulsing xenia, put it in a bag and throw it at your local fish shop and go, how much is that?
Yes.
You'll get laughed at. But if you're taking in nicely settled frags, especially if it's something that's really, really popular or unusual, then you'll get store credit for it. This is not a way to make millions of pounds, but it'll take a bit of money off your bill when you're buying a bucket of salt.
This will probably surprise you. Someone asked in the chat, I sell to local fish shops.
Yeah, okay.
Because I sell a significant, obviously I sell but basically exactly what you've just said, where there's a significantly reduced rate. And the reason I do that is because they buy in bulk. They will come and they will, like, rather than buying a £20 frag or a 30 or whatever, they will then go, all right, I'm going to have 500 or 600 pounds of coral. And obviously it's severely discounted, but it's still 500 or 600 pounds.
Yeah, completely.
So there's no reason that, and I was doing that with shops before I started Prestige Reef. So that's why I still have some of these.
You've got the reputation, the relationship. Sorry.
So there's actually a very I don't want to say anything because just in case it doesn't happen, but a very, very well known brand of very well known shop has put me like potential where I could be working with them. So, but we don't know yet. We'll see. But
you know, so people love to hate on band.
Yeah, I know.
I told you. It was, to be fair, Steve says it's a bit hit and miss. Sorry, no, someone said it's a bit. I found it a bit hit and miss. There were times I found really nice corals on there, and other times just dross. But I don't even know if it still exists. But yeah. So there was, where is it? Gary said, yeah, his local fish shop is 2 hours away. So if your local fish shop is 2 hours away, that's not so much of an option. You're not going to drive for 4 hours to get £5 credit for a scrambled egg zoa. So,
that is true.
Someone said, so there's Aqua, the UK coral show, the massive UK coral show. There's a coral swap there, of course, a frag swap there.
Yeah.
I don't know if the group is still going. We've not really heard much on it, to be honest, but we'll pick that up at some point.
Steve Webb said shops like Maidenhead can't buy from people that aren't suppliers. Maidenhead's taken, like Moss End, I'm assuming, has taken your corals before, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My local Maidenhead has taken corals from me loads of times.
Yeah, completely.
But the difference is that it was, I would still be the same for you. It's store credit usually.
Yeah,
totally. Always. Yeah.
I've never had cash from any local fish shop.
Yeah.
But that's I'm okay with that. I'd only spend it on corals anyway, so I don't really care. You know, local fish shop credit is cash to me. Yeah,
I totally agree. It's the same for me.
Why am I going to spend on a mortgage? God's sake.
Yeah,
not an idiot. But yeah, so you can do that, but it is a problem, and there'll be lots of people who have probably invested quite a lot of money into eBay selling, and now they're stuffed basically.
The one thing that I do think eBay would have been good for is for when someone wanted to shut their tank down. If you want to get rid of your whole tank in one go, there is a slight caveat to what I'm about to say, and I know why you're laughing.
Yeah,
because people put a tank up, and it will be a
story.
The tank will be a 4-foot tank, and it will be entirely covered in xenia, and like they go, right, well, I paid £15 for this xenia when I first got it, and now I've got a whole tank full of it, so I want $5,000 for this tank. And you go, it doesn't work like that.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The reason I'm laughing, and I think there's a reason for this, but when I searched before this, I searched corals on eBay, and I sorted by high to low. And one of the top ones was, there was a tank roughly the size of the cade over my shoulder, so 100 litres, 25 gallons roughly, give or take 20%. And it was well grown out, lots of GSP, a couple of torches, some hammers and all that sort of stuff. I don't want to be offensive if you're watching, sorry. Nothing special. Some nice corals, but nothing special. Same as and I say all the time, my cade is nothing special. It's very average. This was not a spectacular showcase tank. And the price listed £10,000. Now, I think that was like a headline price to get, because he knows that people sort by high to low.
Yeah.
Because when I added up, but then he was adding all the price of the corals, they were optimistic. I thought they were very optimistically priced. But people often think that their stuff is worth more than it actually is.
Yes, that's so. When someone comes to me now, and it happens like relatively frequently, and they say to me, I want to sell my tank, I usually say to them, like at the very, very beginning, like roughly what are you thinking? Because if you're thinking like the things that are on eBay where you see like $3,000 for a tank of corals, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. If you bought a zoa and it was £30 for a polyp, and then you actually only paid £30 for that, just because you got 500 of them does not mean it's 30 times 500.
No.
There is a significant drop with regards to the price of coral as it grows.
Yeah, and you've got to bear in mind, if you've bought a coral and it's from a shop, and then it's grown, it's not even going to be more than, even if it's grown, it's not going to be more than you paid necessarily, because that shop they have to pay for rent and council rates and all that sort of stuff. You don't, as a hobbyist. So if you're going into your local fish shop expecting big bucks, forget it. It's not for that. And you might walk away thinking, there'll be times when you'll walk away thinking, I gave them 10 really nice corals and I only got 50 quid. Don't think of it like that.
I never ever felt that. Like, and as I said, I was doing it for years. Yeah. I absolutely loved it, because next time I went in and I wanted that Soho tang or whatever, and that Soho tang at the time cost, I don't know, 80 quid. We were talking back in the day. You know, I've got 50 quid of credit. That Soho tang only cost me 30 quid.
And selling on places like Ultimate Reef, which is great, but it's not always what it's cracked up to be. So there'll be times when you'll agree a sale and they don't turn up, or you'll agree a sale and you say, I'll be there at 10 a.m. And then they text you, oh, sorry, mate, 11. Oh, sorry, mate, 12. Oh, sorry, mate, 3. Oh, sorry, can we do next week? You know, so whereas if you go to your local fish shop, you don't get that.
The only caveat that I will say, and I'm sure if there are any local fish shops that are listening, they will appreciate this. Call them in advance to say, I have these corals. Would you like them? Yeah. Don't just turn up with a bag of corals and a bag of fish or whatever and go, here you go.
Well, that's the other thing. So if you've got like a 2-foot Monty and you take that in, they won't want it. Yeah. If you fragged it up into you've fragged it up into 10 frags and it's all nicely healed and they're on frag plugs and they're nicely presentable, so they'll look good in a shop, that's what they want.
Yeah.
So they don't want massive chunks of stuff. Some exceptions maybe, but as a general rule, you want to make it really appealing. You want to do all the hard work so that they'll just say, oh, we'd love that. Yeah, great. So make it easy for them. Don't just rock up with a load of Monty, with like a football-sized colony of Monty and expect a load of cash. Little frags, make them nice.
I literally used to stock my tank based on what I could sell. Like what I could easily frag and sell. So Monteporas, I used to love them because like you might get, I know, one frag of Montepora every couple of months or whatever, of all these different types. And you could go to a shop and you've got 15 different types of Monty and you go, look, what can I have for these? And even if you get 5 quid each for them, it was still like worth doing, because it's the other thing. It's fun. Fragging your corals when you're not a coral seller or a shop is fun. When you're in there and you've got your little like coral cutters and you glue it down, it's like arts and crafts, isn't it? It's part of the hobby that is fun to do. When you do it every day, I'm sure, because I'm sure Signature Frags probably feels exactly the same, and there'll be many shops.
It's a job,
It's not, fragging corals becomes one of the least favorite parts. Probably.
When there's always biscuits in the tin, where's the fun in biscuits?
10 points
if you know where that's from. 10 reefing points.
0 points for me.
You don't, because it's a popular culture reference, and you don't ever get them.
True, but yeah, I used to love it. I turned my sump into a little frag tank like what you've done. This was like 10 years ago, specifically for that reason, to be able to grow them out and rest them and then take them to a shop.
Yeah.
So
that's the other thing. The shops love it if you take them stuff that's unusual. If you take them stuff they get all the time, especially if they've got a load of it already, they're probably not interested. But if you get unusual stuff, and actually a lot of the time when I go to Reef Keeper, less so now, but certainly in the past, some of the stuff that's really fancy, I'm like, oh, what's that? It's someone who's come in and a fellow hobbyist. So the unusual stuff that they don't just get in from the usual wholesalers. So
it's because I was speaking to one of the wholesalers the other day, and I have a whole range of Sophastria, and you can get green Sophastria in, but they said, like, how have you got all of these different random pieces? I went, look, I've been collecting for 18 years. And you just keep all this random stuff, and it comes into the hobby once or a couple of times here and there, or you trade bits with people, and that's that. You're right. That's the stuff that they want. The stuff that you can't go to a wholesaler and buy is what they want.
Yeah, exactly. And that's good for everybody. There are 2 other things you can do about this whole thing, and this is for hobbyists. All right.
Okay.
Glass City Aquatics knows. You can either go into your local fish shop and say, look, I've got all these corals. I just don't want them. They're yours. And if it's a bag of pulsing xenia, again, don't expect them to be really grateful. But you can donate them. You give them away. or you can give them away to fellow hobbyists. The Coral Bank. There's a problem with that. In that, and I don't tend to give corals away on Ultimate Reef, because people, like, as soon as something goes up, they're like, oh, I'll have that. And then it's like, can I pick it up on Monday? Oh, actually, do you mind if we do Wednesday? Oh, do you mind if we do December? Yeah. Oh, actually, what are you doing next year? So, and you just get tired of that. And actually, would you mind driving to London and we'll meet halfway? And it's like, no. But if you've got a local Facebook group or like a reefers group or whatever, friends or people 100% share them, and absolutely brilliant. So give them away.
Yeah. Share even today I get one of my customers came, he got free corals. So even I do it now.
Yeah.
If I got loads of stuff, I've actually got corals going out, I think, tomorrow. And I spoke to the guy on the phone. I had to do something with his order. And he was really after green star polyps. And I haven't got any in stock because I've got frags of them, but they're not actually grown over the plug. So I'm not happy sending them out. So I went to him, look, I got a plug here. It's got like 5 polyps on it. Do you want it for free? And he was like, yeah, I really want it. But do you see what I mean? It's like,
yeah, totally.
Because I can't sell it because
you can't sell that. Exactly.
Because it's not.
Because someone would get it, they'd pay 20 quid in it. You'd be like, what's that?
Yeah. So, but he put a few. It had more than 5 polyps on it, but it had grown around the outside of the plug rather than over it. So
yeah, okay. Men behaving badly. Yes, good lad. You got it. That's the biscuits quote. Anyway, that's so funny. Men behaving badly. It was brilliant. Rudra asked the question. So, are we concluding the LFS should be the places to sell your frags? I don't really know what I'm concluding. That if you're a hobbyist and you're now you were selling on eBay, then Ultimate Reef and your local fish shop and your local reef keeping groups or your mates, whatever, they're the best places to either sell or give away frags. If you're a business starting up, really the point of this though is not really about hobbyists selling frags, because that, like, if I can't sell frags on eBay, it doesn't really affect me. I've got other options. It's the businesses who are either starting up or established businesses. Jason's Aquatics, Coral Frags R Us, I think it's called. Huge in the UK, based down in Cornwall, massively based on eBay. Really popular. Suddenly that's gone. I think they've still got a website, but they sell most of their corals, maybe even all, on eBay. So you've got established businesses who've been going for years, who've got, they might even have employees, it's their livelihood, it's gone. What the solution for them, I don't know. It's difficult, it's a problem, and it's not. So there are plenty of there are plenty of dodgy people, or I'm sure, who aren't doing the right thing, and chances or whatever. I don't care about them. That's not a problem, and the people like that get shut down is probably no bad thing. But the reputable sellers who've been around for years, and there's more than Jason's Aquatics. There's loads. Yeah. I just can't think of any because I don't really shop on eBay.
I think Reef Royalty I've seen on there a few times. I don't know if they're still. You see adverts on eBay for Reef Royalty. I don't know if they sell on there or if it's just that's where they're advertising.
Yeah, but there are loads like that who suddenly have a problem. And the conclusion? What's the solution to that? I don't know. I'm glad it's not my problem because I don't know what the answer is. You can have your own website, but how do you, I know what eBay is. I don't know what some random coralshop.com is. Yeah. How do I find that? You've got the luxury of having, I say the luxury, you work very hard to build up your social media following. It is a luxury. So you have that. A normal shop doesn't.
I 100% agree with you. I almost wanted to mention this about having a live stream with you about this. Lots of people think that they can do this. I do not believe I can do this. I could do this without the following. I just don't.
Growing corals is easy.
Yeah, selling them is not easy.
Exactly.
So, but we'll see. For the people that are local, for me, as I said, I do sell. I do buy corals from people, and the reason I'm telling you this is for if you're not local and you want to sell to your local fish shop, make it easy for them.
Yeah.
Don't go, I live an hour away. Do you want to come pick up my tank? If you go, Ryan, I want to sell you my corals. I'm more than happy to come drop them off at your house. And they're perfectly fragged, ready to sell. No, not so much that. I don't mind doing the fragging bit. You have to, and I'm saying this for if you're planning to start selling to your shop, it's about ease of the transaction for them. If they can take it from your pot and sell it the next day, they'll want it. And it's something, even if it's green and red, they'll probably want it. So
that's the same with everyone. There've been times when I've sold corals on Ultimate Reef, and people say, "Oh, can we meet in and can you drive 2 hours and we'll meet halfway?" And I'm like, "No. Look, if you make this easy for me, and you snap it up, let's go. Brilliant. If you're going to make me work for it, and you want a discount, and you want me to drive, and you want me to put it you want me to post it, and all this, just make it easy for anybody."
It'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting if to have Ed's perspective. I know he listens, so I might get a text message from him. He might send me a text message tomorrow going, "Ryan, stop telling people to bring corals. We don't want any more corals." Do you see what I mean? I'd be interested to see if he goes, actually, like, that's true. We do like it like that. It does actually suit the shops, because obviously the shops also have a markup on what they're selling as well. So like the credit has their profit margin in as well. So it's like it's better for me to buy coral from someone selling, and it'll be the same as the shop, from someone selling from their tank, than to buy from a wholesaler, generally speaking.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's the thing. So if I sell a coral to my local fish shop for 30 quid, I get 30 quid store credit. They sell it for 90 quid, and they get part of the store credit back, because they might buy a coral that 30 quid coral might only cost them a tenner. So they get 100 quid coral or 90 quid coral for a tenner.
It's like win-win all around, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. I've not quite explained that properly, but I know what I meant. But yeah, this is no. But anyway, that's the eBay stuff. We've covered it all. That's the eBay stuff. What's the answer? I don't know. I feel sorry for the businesses who are established and who are running, who need eBay or who rely on eBay. It's a good thing that some of the small time, and when I say, so there'll be people who are specifically thinking, watching this, who specifically think I'm targeting them. I have no one in mind at all. But every now and then you go on eBay and you've got an awful photo that is, and it's not from like long sellers who've been there for years and have thousands of sales. It's an awful photo that is completely oversaturated, looks nothing like the coral, and it's way overpriced. That's what I'm talking about. Who knows what percentage that is? Those people I don't feel sorry for. The people I do feel sorry for are the people who do everything right, who've invested money, it's their livelihood, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Next news story.
Oh yeah,
there's one left.
You said there were two.
No. I've done all of them. There's only one that I haven't covered. Yes, that's correct. And you'll love this, Ryan. There's a fish.
Good.
A hybrid fish.
Oh, I've seen this. It's in Brisbane, isn't it?
Hybrid angelfish. Is it Brizzy?
Yeah,
yes, it is. It is. Yeah. Anything QT, the place is called. It is a conspic, which is this angelfish.
Yeah.
Crossed, that's a cool fish. Crossed with a personifier, which is that angelfish. That is not a cool fish, in my humble opinion. I think that's a horrible fish.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure they're expensive, but I would not pay. I don't know how much. How much do you reckon they are? Live Aquaria, $2,500.
Wow.
Between $900 and $2,500. Ridiculous. That's a disgusting fish.
It's not to my taste.
Yeah, that's what I just said, isn't it?
No, yeah.
I'm
agreeing with you, is what I mean.
I know.
And I like angelfish.
So it's a cross between those two, and it looks like this. It looks more like a conspic to me. The only thing I would say is that looks a bit like, and you can't really tell because it's out of water and it's not in proper lighting.
Yeah.
But that looks like a boring conspic. I like the conspic.
Quite often with mixing angels, the original angels look better than, because angels look amazing normally. Maybe other than the one you just so like heartedly hated.
Described. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, generally the normal angels are, says the man who likes master swallowtail tails. Yeah.
I know.
Like, whoa. The males are nice. So, but I've assumed you've come to an end, have you?
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned something earlier, and it's been bothering me for like an hour because I wanted to say something I forgot, and it's very, very quickly. And I like to say this every so often. And you've heard this before. You said you have a torch coral which died, and you have another torch coral which is doing really well. Correct?
Doing great.
That is normal. It is totally normal to have two corals which are the same species that do not survive together. And the reason I'm saying it is because so many people.
I bought a hammer coral from you. All my others are fine. This one's dead. It must be you.
It happened. Like, I don't get that so often, to be honest. But I I do like you see on the comments or what of things. It's one of the questions that come up all the time. I have this coral and I have this coral. Like, do you know what I tell you? Those two corals did not come from 6 feet away from each other in the ocean. They probably came from miles away from each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to say it to you and I'd forgotten, and then an hour later I remembered I was going to say it.
Yeah. So and actually, so
it's public service announcement.
It's logical to say, well, all my corals are fine. This one I've just bought is struggling. It must be a problem with the coral. That there is some logic in that, but it's not. Sometimes it's not correct. I like your uniform, by the way. You got Prestige Reef t-shirt.
I never wear it. I literally never wear it.
You've had that before, but
I've had it for a long time. But I'll be honest with you. I ran upstairs quickly to go put a t-shirt on, and I grabbed the black one, thinking it was the black super dry one, and turns out it was this one. So there's always, for the people that don't know this, there is always an absolutely mad rush in the last 3 minutes. So if you're here 3 minutes before the show, Alex and I are frantically running around getting water, putting on t-shirts.
It's funny because for half an hour we're just sitting back like, all right, mate, what have you been up to? And then suddenly it's like, oh my god, quick, go and get,
we couldn't even get the sound working today, could we? Because I had it on mute.
I honestly, I was having a heart attack 5 minutes before this started. My microphone, well, it was working, but Ryan didn't think it was working. And I was like, oh my god, what am I?
My computer was connected to headphones, so Alex was talking, and we couldn't work out why I couldn't hear him.
I was changing everything, and I was like, oh my god, I did a fake live stream, recorded it. I was like, everything. Anyway, heart attack. We're done. Craigslist makes a comeback.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I
Sometimes
did.
when you take a, because obviously I wasn't here last week, it's like. It's like I genuinely, I really enjoyed this week's one.
It's so much better. Like if you ever, like, if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, hopefully you won't. I probably would still do them, but it's not the same. And especially when it's one person as a podcast, that must be so much more boring than a two-way conversation.
I know. I couldn't do it on my own. I have done them on my own.
I'm talking about. I'm not for me. I'm talking about for the viewer. I just don't think it's not the same. It's so much better when there's two people.
Yeah, because people bring different things to the table. I'm like the funny one, for example, and you're like the
and I'm the good-looking one. Yeah, exactly. So, but it's like, but even like I'll say something and it won't be obvious what I mean, and you'll say, "What do you mean?" And then I'll clarify it. Whereas if I'm on my own, I'm just saying nonsense, and people are like, "Oh, you dickhead! What are you saying that for?" Anyway. Great. Well, thank you all for joining, guys. There was a good turnout today. I hope you enjoyed the eBay chat. Tell us in the comments afterwards what you think, because this is just two dickheads having a chat. I'm not saying I'm the authority on any of this at all. So tell us what you think. Let us know. And next week, I'm in Finland. I actually get back in the morning on Sunday. It's like -10. I get back in the morning. So it's not impossible that there will be a stream, but there might not be. I might be an ice cube.
Well, I'm sure. Look, you're almost always like. Sometimes you go, "Oh, I don't really fancy." We've done this multiple times where we both go, "I don't really fancy it." Even like an hour before a stream once, didn't I?
Yeah.
And then I went, and then we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." Anyway,
but it's warning. You may not. You may have to talk to your wife next Sunday. Sorry. Yeah.
Well. Or partner, or boyfriend, there are
whatever.
Yeah.
You may have to talk to another human being.
Yes. Anyway.
Right. Bye.